Welcome to the G52 podcast, your Horus Heresy safe space, a place for bullshit and bad hobby advice. So if you want to join in, like our Facebook page, Geno52 Podcast, join our Facebook group, Geno52 Podcast, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Geno52 Podcast, or drop us an email, Geno52podcast@gmail.com. Always remember, the Geno52 Podcast does contain adult humour. Hello and welcome back to the Geno52. We're back for another episode. We've been invading your ears lately. I know we've been throwing some stuff out, but we figured, well, there's lots of stuff to talk about. Let's get on and talk about some stuff. So anyway, welcome. I'm Tom. I'm here with Nick.
Yo.
And Stu.
Hello. Nick doing his heel and hammer impression there.
Yeah, Nick's from the ghetto, if you didn't know. You know, the ghetto of Chickham, the posh little Cotswold village.
Keep it real.
Keeping it real with my middle class gluten-free bacon.
It's not easy to find your house. Bloody hell. I missed the turn-in driving through that ridiculously narrow high street and ended up having to do this weird U-turn up at almost, I don't know what gradient the hill was, but it was all good fun. All good fun. How dare you live in a nice little place like that?
Tiny little side lane, yeah.
I just drove past it.
I do like the fact you who doesn't drive moved into a tiny house in the cottage in the countryside and made your wife drive you everywhere now.
Got travelling style.
Sure, you have buses, don't you? One a week or something like that, is it? Take all the old people into town, get their pensions and
bus pass, bro. Bus
pass. Buy the Werther's original and
goes bus pass. So anyway, yeah, enough of baiting Nick, because if you'll probably realise tonight, Nick is dying. He's soldiering through his ailments because his wife called him a wimp and told him he's got to get on and record. So, what are you dying of, Nick?
I actually think it's probably tonsillitis. I assumed it was just flu, but it's twice now that I'll stop being a wimp, but yeah, for 2 days I've been borderline like dying, and yeah. But I'm here for the fans.
You're here because your wife didn't want to talk to you for another evening.
She refused to feed me for the weekend if I didn't.
At least it's this weekend you're ill, not next weekend, so you don't miss the event. That would have been shit. You should be alright for next week if you get it out of the way now.
I'm going to need my energy. I've got some serious battles coming up.
Yeah, with your secret new army.
I can't believe you got it fully painted just almost overnight. It's amazing.
To a really nice standard as well. Yeah.
yeah, it was really good going. I mean, it's you've worked really hard on that.
What can I say? Maybe that's what pushed me over the edge into another bout of sickness.
Yeah, you cracked from all the painting pressure.
Cool. Let's best leave that cryptic, I suppose, until for the next show.
Yeah, do you know what? Down at the club, there is a lot of debate about what Nick is bringing, because he's teased everybody with his secret army. Everyone's going, well, so what's Nick bringing? What's Nick bringing? I'll tell you, it's a secret project. Well, what's he bringing? I said, well, you go see. And then everyone's going, well, it's definitely going to be Thousand Suns or Space Wolves. And I'm going, yeah, could be something else. It's brilliant. You've caused a lot of debate, Nick.
Oh dear God, the pressure. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, let's see the looks on people's faces. It'd be priceless.
Yeah, it's definitely going to surprise a few people with what you turn up with.
All we say is you can fit a lot of stuff into 2,500 points. Be afraid.
You can fit a lot into a mastodon. You can fit a lot into a mastodon, can't you?
I thought you said you could fit a lot into a man. I was like, yeah.
Well, I wouldn't know that one, I'm afraid. I mean, contrary to popular opinion, that's definitely more your bag than mine.
Well, rumours are true.
Yeah, that's what my old PE teacher used to tell me. Don't knock it till you've tried it.
Well, your PE teacher said that.
Yeah.
Oh God, what in the change rooms?
Yeah, that's a West Country education for you. There, there's a reason. There's a reason I come with a fearless special rule.
Oh God.
No. So what have you guys been up to since we last recorded? When did we record? What, 2 or 3 weeks ago? Actually did a proper record.
Don't
What
know.
have you
We've
been
been
up to
recording
lately,
every
Ashley?
week, haven't we? What have I been up to? So I've been building tagged events Zone Mortalis board. I've actually done quite a lot of it. Ran out of hot glue, so I'm waiting for that to arrive. But hopefully, hopefully it'll be ready to take to our event next weekend. I'm not promising anything, but it's looking pretty good. And I bought a mat to go with it as well, so it's looking rather shiny.
Oh, was that when you managed to spend money in Incom Gaming when Incom Gaming wasn't even open?
Yeah, I went for a mandate with the owner Chip, who you would have heard on our last mini-sode stroke advert. And we both got kids the same age, so sometimes when we're stuck for things to do, we take them to the play farm with the view that we sit and drink coffee, but we don't. We have to bloody well follow them around and climb up and down things and go on the slides and all kinds of stuff, which is fun.
Yeah, you have to.
You have to, believe me.
Do you know what?
I'm too old for it. I can't be asked. I can't wait till he's old enough and goes off and plays by himself. But so we went. Sorry, carry on.
I kind of wish my daughter was young enough that I could come and watch this. I'd like to see that. I'd love to see you and Chip climbing up and down the play barns and things and in the slides. I bet you and Chip are the worst kids in there. You're the naughty kids in the ball pool.
we weren't too bad. This little boy started throwing balls at Chip the other day. Someone we didn't even know. You don't have to react as an adult. You kind of have to kind of put up with it, and these balls are hitting Chip directly in the face, and then Chip threw one back and it hit him on the face, and I thought, if he cries now and his dad's watching or something, it's going to all kick off. But no, we got
CCTV, social services, prison.
Anyway, it was like, yeah, so I met up with him for a mandate, and then I went to his pub afterwards, and then decided to buy a mat.
Took the children to the pub.
Yeah, he took the children to the pub. We stuck some kids' TV up on his iMac, and then we just chatted toy soldiers. It's all responsible parenting. What else have we done? Finished off the last units of my Imperial Fist now, so it's about 3.5k, and it's gonna stop at that. I think I've done it fairly quickly, especially the infantry. So I've not done to the best standard I could, but I wanted to make sure that I had a playable army. It's taken me just over 6 months, which is a long time for some people. Fairly quick for me because I'm doing lots of client work as well. But I've got something playable now, which means I can really, really spend some time on making sure the
I think you're doing yourself a bit of a disservice there, saying you've done it to a low, not as high a standard.
It's a tabletop standard. I'm happy with it. I just meant that I can spend more time on the infantry on the Solar Ox now, which I if I'd spent that time on the Imperial Fists, I probably wouldn't be playing still because they wouldn't be finished. So I think that's what it is. It's because I know I can do better. I also think that if I did them again, I'd do them better. I think that's what it is. Now it's finished. Looking at them, I'm like,
it's the same as every
a bit of regret.
When you finish something, you go,
Mm.
yeah. All you can see is the mistakes. All anybody else can see is a really nicely painted model because you see every little bit that you've spent ages fascinating on, and actually most people don't see it.
I went back and did a little bit the other day. I actually I finished a commission early, and I had about 6 or 7 hours to myself, which I very rarely get. So went along and did a little extra bit of work on all the eye lenses on every single marine. Took me a few hours, but put an extra highlight in and made a bit of a difference.
I mean,
they look better. I did a bit more chipping on my tanks as well, and rephotographed them in a new lighting thing, and they look a lot better as well. So yeah, I am really happy with it. I just know that if I go back to the fists after I've done the Solar Orcs, because I'll have all these Mark III Marines sitting on sprues ready for my next Marine project. If I do go back to the fists, I will probably do a slightly different scheme and aim to make them better, and then eventually replace them unit by unit. I think I may just go back and do a different legion altogether, which takes away the need of feeling that the army looks a little bit under par, and it's not. You're right, it's not under par, but it's just because I know that I can paint better than that.
It's that painting thing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as you learn all the time and you improve all the time, so you finish doing something over a long period and you want But anyway, I'm looking forward to. I've actually started to clean up some of the Solar Rocks. I finally started working on it, but I want to get this Zone Mortalis board built this next week so we can hopefully use it at the event. And then it will be, I say Solar Rocks, but I might build my Custodes and Sisters and get them painted just as a bit of a palette cleanser in between the two armies, otherwise it won't get done. But yeah, we'll definitely start on my new project.
Yeah. I need to get my finger out, and I haven't even started cutting my Zone Mortalis out yet. I've got some scissors. I got some scissors to do it with the other day because I realised we don't have any decent scissors in our house. So I'm gonna. That's my evening project. So I'm gonna stick them down by the stairs where I sit in my chair, and I can just cut a couple of sheets out slowly in an evening and just work my way through those. But yeah, that's cool. So what have you been up to then, Nick? Apart from dying of the flu.
Oh, not too much. So I'll say not too much. I built a fire raptor, which in agreement.
You swore.
Go on.
You swore vividly through building that.
Oh, of all the things I'd read, just how bad they were, I always assumed it was people thinking generally about 412 models. Just working with resin in general, working with the issues of warpage and mold slippage and all the extra, or all the more obvious and more evident issues that come with the process compared to plastic. But yeah, it was just really, really bad, like horrendously bad, and I ended up with kind of bright red hands where I'd burnt myself using the hairdryer so much to kind of warp it back into place. And it's so hard to explain, but it's not just that it's kind of, 4 pieces going together and one bit, and you're like, oh, one piece doesn't quite slot in right. I'm gonna have to, just bend the end in and then glue it, and it's fine. It's like, no, you've got 4 pieces, all of which have 2 or 3 surfaces that need to be glued to each other, and none of them line up at all. So you need to go along and reshape each piece, and they're warped on like multiple axes. They're not just kind of bent outwards. They're like skewed as well, which is quite bad, but it's doable. It just takes time. And then when you put it all together and you kind of go, oh, wait a minute, the piece that slots now into that kind of box that I've built lines up on one side but doesn't line up on the other. So you've got an engine housing and some kind of anchor for that where it slots in. One side's perfect. The other side just doesn't line up. And you're kind of looking at it trying to work out, like, has my heat gun like misshaped reality somehow? Because like that, I can't quite work out. It's like a optical illusion. I can't work out how one side fits perfectly and the other doesn't. It's like Play-Doh. Like if somehow. Oh, anyway, it's together and it looks okay. I think now.
I mean, I don't think people. So I don't think people believe me when I said it took me 10 hours to build my Storm Eagle.
Oh yeah, I think there's probably. It's probably between 6 and 8 so far into the Raptor, definitely. And there's still probably 2 hours of green stuff in, and then filing, waiting for it to dry, and then filing, whatever. I mean, on top, all of that said, this should probably be a warning for the rest of the show. I'm going to sound like a miserable fucking bastard tonight because I am dying. I'm not. Well, I am normally, but I'm not more so tonight. So just put up with it. But
I just
all
say
of that
it's just
said,
normal service, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but all of that said, it is such a fucking cool kit. It is so. And when I think back to all of the scenes where they have like from the Black Library novels and stuff where the Fire Raptors come in, and I'm just looking at it and I can just see why. Like, it's so cool. I love the bull turrets. They've got that kind of it's from the Star Wars films that will not be named, but when the troop transports come in and land, and then they've got those kind of bull turret guns and they're swiveling around shooting at troops and stuff. Yeah, I love it. It's amazing. It was just absolutely beyond horrendous to build. It's the worst thing. And I've worked with a lot of big kits. Like, I joked before
Built
about
a couple of Titans and stuff, haven't you?
a few Titans, a few big tanks, a few other big flyers. I think I've built now pretty much apart from 2.
Flyers?
Yeah, I think apart from 2, I built every Elder Super Heavy. Apart from 1, I built every Elder Super Heavy. All the big tanks, all the flyers. a lot of the big Tyranid stuff. But this is just, yeah, because it's so many pieces that so many surfaces that need to connect to form like a solid whole. And again, it's resin. It's just working with resin. That's all it is. A byproduct of. And yeah, now it's there. It's that feeling of getting through it to something that looks like you don't believe it's actually going to come out looking okay. That's what's scary. You're like, they say, oh, it's fucked. It's fucked. But you get a few hours in and you start to think, actually, that looks pretty awesome now. And this is going to be okay. It's going to be okay. So yeah, so got that done. And I also decided finally on my never-ending White Scars project, or never properly starting really. The build for my Praetor, so I've gone with and I built the jet bike, but I dry fitted it so that I can take the rider out, sub-assemble, like spray it individually. And I'll show you the photos of that. So I've gone with a Paragon glaive rather than like a Paragon blade, obviously because it's White Scars. I want to go for the power glaive. So he's got a power glaive in the right hand and a power fist, but he's using the power fist to steer the jet bike. So it looks pretty mean. I'm really happy with the way that came out. I was really umming and ahhing because I couldn't quite get the shoulder pads right. I was really worried it looked a bit like Tina Turner or kind of 80s glam, like big power shoulder pads. They seem to be really high with like shrunken heads. It's just, I think it's a byproduct of trying to put the Mark II shoulder pads onto Mark IV scimitar jet bike. For some reason, the pad, like, I don't know if the bodies are maybe a bit smaller to fit the model of the jet bike.
Were you using the plastic Mark IIs from the cow set or resin Mark IIs?
So the resin shoulder pads, resin Mark II shoulder pads. So these are the ones that a couple episodes back I remember I had the issue where I realised that I'd bought the Mark II upgrade shoulders only to realise that the jet bike comes with Mark IV, so I needed the other normal Mark II shoulder pads.
Yeah.
And loads of listeners and people on forums stuff hooked me up with some cheap, just normal Mark II shoulder pads for the other shoulder, so that was really helpful.
Because I was going to say, my Mark IV resin that came with my quad mortar is noticeably smaller than the Mark IV Calth Marines that I use for the majority of my infantry. You can see a difference in size, so I was just wondering if that was an issue. But if you're using all resin through it, that probably won't be an issue, will it?
That's it. I think there actually does seem to be quite a lot of variation. So another one I was looking at earlier was comparing the resin Headhunter upgrade kit with the Alpha Legion limited edition character. If you look at some of the photo comparisons for the size, like some of them look almost, I'll call them true scale, I don't know what, bigger than 28mm, but not bulkier. They just look like maybe they've got longer legs. Almost like that new Marine, that new collector Marine that everyone hates with like the monkey face and the really long legs. Like they kind of look something like him.
I've acquired his potato head from Rob, our group, who actually did a really nice conversion for his world bearers, using it as a base. But he gave me all the Ultramarine bits and the potato head that came with it, and fuck, he's ugly.
It's really weird looking. So what was it for? So it was in store only.
Ultramarine.
What did you have to do? What was the recognition of?
Just I think he just was. I think they're experimenting with Forge World in stores. I think they're trying to test this out to see if it's viable and stuff. But I mean, it is viable. You give us Forge Worlds in store, we'll buy it. But don't give us monkey-faced Ultramarines banner bearers.
Was it limited edition or?
I think so.
Yeah, I think like the last one, it's pretty limited edition. So there was the face is fine, but not for Ultramarines. If that was on a Death Guard or something like that, it looked fine.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
And then the worst part for me were the massive, sort of Gundam shins he's got, massive, really chunky Terminator legs on a normal body.
That's what I was referring to. Yeah. They look complete. They look either old school Rogue Trader Terminator legs where they're just really long and quite thin, quite narrow, or they're just out of scale with the rest of the model. It doesn't quite.
It's like they scanned
But
a
that was-
cartoon and printed it, isn't it? It's very, very odd. If you look at the
Mhm.
sculpting in itself, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not bad, but it just doesn't really match up and
Billy the
fit in
intern
with
had
the
a go
rest
at
of
it.
it.
That seems to be the general consensus that Billy the summer intern. It was part of his work experience program. It was his week to have a go at sculpting, and he got the Ultramarines potato head out there.
Wait. Can you hear that? What's that? It's the
What?
sound of a P-45 flying towards the sculptor.
No, I think like Stu said, I think generally it's not that bad. I think the other thing is we've come to expect the best from Forge World. You know, every model is going to be insanely good. And I don't think actually compared to models I've seen for other game systems, it's still pretty damn good. It just isn't up to the standard that we've come to expect from Forge World, really, have we?
It still looks more grimdark, heresy themed than it does Games Workshop, but it's just not a particularly great model. Like there's lots of things that are off with it, but it's still closer to the style that I like. It's not too cartoony. It's not too
Yeah, it's not as bad as some of the stuff that's come out lately, but for 40k. But
I still prefer it to a lot of the generic captains that they've done with all the web store releases, 40k with all the web store releases and all the limited edition captain this and captain that, and they're all just kind of just generic Space Marine cartoony ones. But anyway, bitching about stuff. Blah blah blah. So I finished that Praetor. Really happy with that. Finished Fire Raptor. Really happy with that. And then I was away quite a bit. I've been really busy. So I was trying to make some hobby time, but I had to crack on with that secret project. So put in the hours into that.
Did you say you were sat up till 2 a.m. building models while your wife was getting stressed at you?
Yeah, that's it. I just she's banging on the ceiling for me to come to bed.
Like, damn it, woman! I've got resin
like
to put together.
I love the way Stu's the one that chuckles. Filthy old man.
Absolutely.
So putting the hours in, dedicated to the cause.
So what have I been doing? Work continues on Project Storm Eagle. I've lost count of how many hours I'm into it now, but all I know is that I've painted a lot of blue, a lot of white, and a little bit of silver and stuff, and a bit of gold here and there. So that's coming on. Transfers are on now. Weathering shall commence when I get my airbrush out of the big solution of shit it's sitting in at the moment because it's jammed to buggery. What else have I done? I've been working on another 10-man vet squad.
You said it was.
What's that?
Your airbrush was spluttering or something. Was that? You had problems with it?
Yeah, it's just jammed. It's just dirty as fuck. I haven't cleaned it properly for ages, so it's having a good soak. It jammed up. I've been doing varnishes and all kinds of stuff through it lately, so it just tends to clog up a bit at times. So it just needs a good soak in the bath and a bit of love and attention. So it's having that. What else have I been knocking on? Bashing out these 10 vet squads. I've made my list for what I need to do for the Horus Brawl event in January and what I need to get completed for escalation. And I got all the bits in now, and that's all ready to go. So building and painting and general hobbying through the new year can commence. That's pretty good. I've had a few games as well, actually. Been getting some games in as well. Gilliman's head total is starting to get a bit excessive now. We took Alferis's head this week. He's killed everybody that's come up against him, quite frankly. He is an absolute beast in combat, Gilliman. He's not like Horus, kind of absolutely nuts, but no one's challenged him yet. The only person who bogged him down was Dawn, wasn't it, Stu?
Yeah, that was.
We think that's got a lot to do with the fact we fucked up the combat because we didn't really know what we were doing, wasn't it?
Yeah, we made loads of mistakes all across. So yeah, but they were both got a lot of similarities, I think, and including the units that we took. So it was probably not the most interesting of combats, but it'd be interesting to see what would happen again.
Primarch on Primarch. You got to remember that. I mean, so you can't take them too much out of the context of the full bodyguard / Death Star squad that you guys are running them in, most people run them in, it's rare you're going to get it just being, or unless they start off very early and then multiple turns on, you end up with just the Primarchs versus Primarch, which is going to take ages to get to that stage normally. There's very few, I'm trying to think probably just the top 3, unless they get certain situations where you're actually going to have one Primarch just outright win the combat and kill the other guy. Most of the time you're going to end up with quite a long stalemate, or a few wounds here and there, a few hit will not dies. A lot of the time, some of the top tier ones are just going to kill the lower tier ones because they're shit.
That's what I was going to say. It's interesting you say that because the way it worked when I fought Alex's Alfarius the other day is he'd got Dynat with him, and it was only Alfarius and Dynat, and I got my whole Chaplain, Suzerain, Guilliman, Spartan, Death Star going. Once we piled in, Guilliman and Alfarius got into a challenge, so that separated them off into about as much of a vacuum as you can. And then the Suzerain squad killed Dynat quite quickly. And then this is where I sent you this message about people attacking into combat, because we had it so basically my Suzerains and Chaplain weren't attacking into the challenge and just sat there, and Guilliman took Alfarius in 2 turns without losing a wound.
Prime example of shit Primarchs in 1-on-1 combat. No, but seriously, he's literally bottom. I mean, the reason Alfarius has so many points is because he has insane buffs.
Yeah.
Well, Guilliman has the same buffs as well.
Using the rules, Guilliman
Guilliman has the same buffs as well. But yeah, but I mean, primarily the he has very not just insane. He has very uniquely army-wide buffs. That can apply to everybody outright and benefit everybody outright. Whereas I think a lot more of Guilliman's or most people, they have a few kind of set tricks.
No, Guilliman gives +1 leadership to all units in your army, not just your primary detachment.
Okay, not amazing, but okay, yeah. That's a good generic blanket one, but okay.
Yeah, he gives one selected unit, one of those special rules: Interceptor, Tank Hunter, Implacable Advance. So if you've got a Land Raider, I pick Tank Hunter, I can give that to my Land Raiders, and that's every Land Raider in the army. So if I got 3 squadrons of 3, all 9 of them would have Tank Hunter. So it applies across.
You got the C's, which is blocking the
reroll
which is
successful seizes against me, which is hilarious. When you go, I've seized, and you go, yeah, pick that dice up and try again, you fuck up.
Yeah, I can't believe that. I was gonna try and counter you with Alfarius's 4 up, but
then Guilliman himself has got nuts rules himself as well. Chip, when I played Chip and his Eldar, because I don't know what I'm doing half the time, he flew his psychic shenanigans into Guilliman. So what Chip's big thing is, what he does a lot is he'll have 3 or 4 psychers. He'll neg your leadership, drop your leadership as far as it can. So he threw a load of psychic dice at me, dropped my leadership with Guilliman down to about leadership 4 or 5, and then he does a psychic shriek. So you take your leadership, you roll against your elite, 3d6 against your leadership. So effectively, 3d6 against leadership 5 is a fuck ton of wounds, isn't it? And Kurt happened to be sat there looking at Guilliman's rules and went, interesting. You can't negative modify Guilliman's leadership. So you can't drop his leadership in any way, shape, or form. Oh, he's Adamantium Will as well. All right, so that's plus.
I was going to say, and his Adamantium Will as well. Yeah.
And he re-rolls any failed deny the whips roll. So he's got major. So Chip went, fuck, I've just spent 7 warp charges doing this, and you're still leadership 10. Yeah.
And you waited until he'd made all of his moves and rolls, and then you told him.
No, honestly, I didn't know. It was Kurt who was sat there reading it, and Kurt was like, do you actually know your own Primarch's rules? I was like, no, not really. I just painted in blue, and I'd run him into people and use his strength 10 AP1 power fist to punch him in the face. Because in that game, Guilliman took out an Avatar of Cain in 3 rounds of combat. And the Suzerain and the Chaplains killed Janezar and a full squad of Banshees. And generally shit all over him in combat, which was insane. And then he fucked up all his psychic things as well, which is hilarious against Eldar. I screwed his main battle plan. So yeah, that's what I've been doing then. painting, playing games. Yeah, pretty much it. It's not been too bad a few weeks for me actually. Yeah, pretty cool.
I do like that Storm Eagle. It's coming along really nicely. It's just
Yeah.
I'm kind of following it along slowly. So you finish building yours, and I was like just starting to build the Raptor, and then you start painting it, and I'm like, I need just to catch up. Need time to start spraying stuff.
Yeah, so he's getting there. He's almost there. Me and Stu are starting to talk Golden Demon, aren't we? We're starting to think about what we want to do. The rules for Golden Demon have come out, so I've started sketching some ideas down for what I want to do with that and the things I'd like to enter. Unfortunately, my 6 foot by 4 foot sniper diorama is not allowed in the rules. I was going to do a full table.
What? Why not? Why is it not allowed?
Diorama's got limited size, isn't it? 2 foot by 2 foot.
I can't remember actually. I read that the other day as well. I know it's 50
Was
mil
it
base
actually
for
2
the.
foot by 2 foot? They allowed that pick. Wow.
I
was going to build a sort of Chernobyl style wrecked, abandoned high-rise block and playground and stuff, and have a sniper hidden in the top there, and like a command squad at the other end of the board wandering along with commander having his head blown off at long range.
While playing on the swings.
Yeah, while playing on the swings.
I was waiting for the playground. Yeah, go on.
Nothing says grim dark like a playground.
Like Space Marines on swings.
Dead children somewhere.
So yeah, we're thinking Golden Demon, aren't we? Starting to plan and prep what we're doing. And,
well, I've ordered a 50 mil round for my duel. Because I didn't have one. They're like bloody gold dust, those are things, aren't they? I didn't realise that how little you. Yeah, it's to get an official GW one. There's only one seller in the UK.
You have to have official GW base.
No, but I didn't want an MDF one.
Full foul of the rules.
No, I just didn't. I thought it looked the nicest. There was a third party one, but they're often a bit thin, a bit slim. And then I didn't want to buy a wooden one.
I've probably got about 30 of them in the box.
Probably, it's only cost me like £2 posted. I can cope, but
I have no idea. What size is 50 mil round? Which model?
50 mil.
Which model size is like what model?
That's not Dread, is it? They're 60 mil.
Dread's 50.
Dread's 50, is it? And
there should be loads of them available.
Terminators are 40. Dread's are 50.
50 mil is the size that the display base of the Primarchs come on, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Dreadnought. Oh, Jesus says to you, I've got one sat on my desk from Gilliman's base that I'm not using.
Oh well, it's on the way.
Well,
you might need one yourself if you do a duel.
Yeah, what I've just realised is I don't need to order one now.
Yeah, there you go. Bits and kits. Bit of advert for you. Bits and kits.co.uk. 50 mil round base, £1.
Very nice.
There we go. Fair enough. Yeah, cool. So that's kind of what I've been up to then. Cool. We seen anything cool out and about on the internet lately? Seen anything that's worth mentioning?
I've got something I forgot to mention for the last show, so it was out for. Yeah. It's been out for quite a while, and I was going to find the guy's name. It was another Facebook group. Anyway, let me slaughter this name. It was Hawk Jacobson. He was on the Horus Harry painting and modelling group. He scratch built a Malkador, and it's fucking awesome. You see a lot of scratch built sort of tanks out of plastic art and things on those groups, but some of them are great, some of them are okay. This one is just amazing. Let me just share this with you.
Is it out of plastic card or?
There's most of it is plastic card. There's a few bits of from GW kits, but let me just share it with you because this is good radio because you two don't know what I'm talking about, but I was really impressed with it.
None of us know what you're talking about. None of the listeners know what you're talking about.
Yeah, they.
Oh yeah, I see it.
It's good, isn't it? Well, the three of us can now see it, and
where have you posted it? Because I can't see it.
It should be in our chat.
That does look really cool, actually.
I'm just really impressed by the quality of that work.
This is really nice. Yeah.
So I think it's because I was looking at Solar Rock stuff really, and drew my attention to him more. But yeah, really, really impressed with that. So he probably doesn't listen, but if he does, it was awesome, mate.
Nice
well, really, really impressed with that. But yeah, that's me.
On a, I think it was a debate about giving a model a 10 on Cool Mini or not? Do you guys rate the models on there? Do you
No, I got a flick on
do
there
you,
every
do you
now
put
and
your
then.
own models on there? Did you used to?
No, I don't. I actually something that's passed me by totally as Cool Mini or not. I just it's not something I've ever looked at really.
It's a good way to make yourself cry, I think, is to post your stuff on there and
Yeah.
ask for grading. I don't think it's particularly friendly.
It's really funny. Is
Is it
it's
the same
hot
as
or
putting
not?
it? Is
Yeah.
it like it putting an opinion on Twitter?
No, it's like hot or not. Everyone just calls you ugly, and then
There's absolutely amazing stuff on there, and people are giving 7s and stuff. It's really, really harsh. It's it's not.
You can see why though. I mean, the top tier stuff is insane. But anyway, so the model and the entire thread on the forum and the ranking and the actual the actual post of the for the model in question, the main photo with the thread discussion comments was all deleted because of some hoo-ha. I'm not privy completely to what happened because I missed most of the fun. I would have joined in a heartbeat. But the
Quick, somebody is trolling. Must join.
Yeah, like I was just like, wow, this is playground. But it was absolutely stunning, and the model was kind. It was I call it a diorama, I guess. It was a duel, but it was two Harlequins against a 40k White Scar Terminator, and it was doing making use of the idea that I mentioned to you guys. I don't think I actually talked about it on the show, but I mentioned to you guys about the idea of using the is it Yoo-hoo? Yeah, that's right. You corrected me. I was trying to say UHU, and you guys were like, "Do you mean Yoo-hoo?" Like, I was like, "Oh, sorry. Okay, Yoo-hoo." It's the stuff that dries clear, like once you put it in a certain. Yeah. So I've seen it used a lot with towel, and there's quite a few models up on previous Golden Demon entries and loads of the photos where people use it, trying to just make it look like a shield or force field or like an energy projection, and I guess they wrap it around whatever, like a balloon or a ping pong ball or whatever shape they want, and then when it dries, it's spherical, and then someone shoots. It looks like someone's shooting with muzzle flare at the other model, and it looks like it's bouncing off of their kind of force field or ion shield or whatever. And but in the way it been used in this was just energy dissipating from the weapons clash, from like a force blade.
Wow.
And it looked awesome. And basically, it was this kind of White Scar Terminator, and it was similar to actually the pose that I've done with my guy recently, where he's very kind of sideways on, and he's doing it looks like he's doing a riposte, like he's just it's just on a sideways parry, and he's going to be stepping forwards and then just well, he's got a glaive, so it's not going to be very fast, but he's leaning up, and what on the force blade is a Harlequin, like actually like attached with the Harlequin's blade to the top of the force blade. Yeah. So there's no wires, there's no whatever. Obviously, it's the Harlequin's the new plastic model, so it's light enough that he doesn't need, it might be pinned through the weapon and through the arm, but it just looks like the Harlequin is landing down to stab this guy in the face, and he's just flicked his blade up. And yeah, there's just this crack, loads of energy, but the way it looks, not like a field, but it's really hard to describe. The way it's coming off the blade is just this crack of two different energies. It's like the very elder Harlequin coloured mosaic kind of pattern of colours of energy, and then like the imperial kind of blue of the force blade of psychic energy fighting back, and then the other Harlequin is like attached to his right shoulder. He's actually hit his shoulder, and he's just starting to like breach the armor through the ceramite. And I was just looking at it, and I'm like, was that UHU? Was that Yoo-hoo? And I really wanted to message the guy, and like he's taken down all of his whole account, or he's like made it not public now because of all the drama. So yeah, I was really annoyed. But anyway, basically he got given a 10 by somebody. which apparently is not the done thing. I didn't realise, like,
Internet
yeah,
policy.
why would you be allowed to have a rating of 0.1 to 10 if you're not allowed to give 10? Anyway, someone gave him a 10 and like the world exploded, so it's gone, and I didn't save it at the time, so that's disappointing. But apart from that, no, I haven't seen anything else really cool.
What have I saved lately? What have I been doing lately? I've been watching Mr. Kane post his stuff everywhere as he's starting to get finished. And Matt Kane's been posting his stuff up. That's been pretty cool. I've been watching those things.
Oh, the spin
view stuff. Yeah, it's been really cool.
Which is quite cool. So watching that stuff, I mean, I get privileged, quite lucky to see early work in progresses in the MKA group and stuff and see that. But it's really cool to see his army coming together now. I know a ton of guys are going up to the Shadow War event this weekend. So there should be some nice looking armies up there to do. So I'm looking forward to seeing those. I've saved lots of stuff on the web store, from the Forge web store, that I keep meaning to go back and look at. I've been really enjoying Duncan's videos lately. The Warhammer TV ones. The quality of stuff they're throwing out there is, I know I keep saying it, but
the painting ones. Yeah,
the painting ones. Everyone bow down and worship Professor Duncan when he paints, the quality of stuff. And I mean, there's a real subtlety to the way they teach you quite advanced techniques. I think he was doing blending and stuff on one video the other day, and I was sort of watching it, I'm thinking, oh yeah, that's really easy, I can do that. And you sort of think about it and think, that's almost like one brush blending that he's teaching you there. And you think he's just saying, paint this and then do this, and it's like, oh yeah, shit, that's quite cool. So I mean, yeah, I've been watching lots of them. He did quite a good one with some Space Wolves. I got the Thousand Suns one. Did you see the non-airbrushed metallic Thousand Suns scheme that one of the Forge World stores put out? It's obviously the guy in the store there about painting it with their gold paint and then highlighting it with gold, and then using their spirit stones. I've seen quite a few people doing the gold base because obviously it produces a warmer red. It produces a warmer metallic red than that, okay. And it looks really nice. But he did it using the spirit stone, like you did with your knight, hand painted it over, and it looked really nice. And the good thing is, because you did it gold, did the highlights up through gold. Once you put the red onto the armor panel, all the gold's done as well. And it was like, oh Christ, he's literally painted like two of the major colours in one quick trick there. So that was quite cool. I like that. I've been watching that, enjoying that, and seeing people starting to put their custodes up and their sisters and stuff. So, yeah, it's been what I've been sort of following and watching lately. And
one other thing I did actually see is another really good battle report from another channel on YouTube. Is it M31 Horus Heresy battle reports? Have we shouted
those guys out before? I haven't seen those.
Yeah, they're really good. They're really. I've watched most of those. Guerrilla Miniature Games, isn't it? He does loads of different stuff, but they're pretty good and well shot and yeah.
It's a good balance between like seeing the miniatures, seeing what's actually happening in the game, dice rolling. It's a good balance between all those aspects. It's not like 5 minutes fixed top-down view or
I think
whatever. It's really
well.
good balance.
He holds the camera pretty steady, considering he's holding it in his right hand all the way through, and he's sort of doing everything with his left hand. But describing it like that, it makes you sound like, oh god, it's going to be awful to watch. You're going to feel seasick, but it's not. It's really good.
Have you been drinking as well, or is that your Sean Connery impression?
My Sean Connery impression. I've watched. They've got loads of them, and I've watched quite a few. They're pretty good.
I mean, a lot of the modern, especially like the decent HD cams, have got really good. I was going to say anti-shake. I've got no fucking clue what I'm talking about. I'm talking about
image stabilization.
Yeah, video stabilization, whatever you want to call it. I mean, even shitty phones have got it now. But I remember like recording. I was playing one months ago now, and recording it at the time, and I was just thinking this is really shaky, and I'm walking, and I'm trying my hardest to keep it steady, and it's really bad. And then when you actually watch it back, where it's just compensated for you, it takes out like 90% of that. It looks really cool. So don't get me wrong, the guy's probably got a really steady right hand. We won't go too much into details about that. But also a lot of it's the modern tech making life easy, I think. So yeah, so check those guys out definitely. Yeah. What was the? I only know them as M31, but you mentioned them.
It's Guerrilla
no,
Miniature Games, I believe, on YouTube.
Yeah, I've just found them on YouTube under that. Saying that, actually, I watched the not the Alpha Legion, the Space Wolves Thousand Suns battle report that came out today from 30K channel. David, who you met a couple of episodes ago, they've got their latest video out. Watch that. It's really cool. They've invested in some better equipment, and they're getting better with filming and stuff. And it was a really good, interesting battle. Actually, I really enjoyed that. About two and a bit hours.
Was that when I spoiled the last video?
No, this is a new one. You haven't seen this one, which is good, because otherwise you'd have probably spoiled it by now.
Yeah, it doesn't finish the way you think it's going to finish when it starts, which is really cool because it's actually very much like how games go. You play the first turn and go, all right, I've won this, and then by the sixth turn you're going, shit, when did I lose this game?
No more. We'll definitely.
I'd say you've just spoiled it for people who've watched the first 10 minutes.
No, they don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Well, fuck it. I posted it about enough today on Facebook. You should have all dropped everything you were doing and watched it straight away like I did.
Dave is going to disown us now. He's definitely going to stop liking our posts on Facebook after ruining his all of his videos.
Go and watch it. It's very good, and you'll enjoy watching it, and it's very nice. And the guys that are playing it are awesome, and there's two really, really nice looking armies on there. So go and watch some heresy porn. I may be lying. I may just be telling you bullshit to stir it up. So you'll have to go and watch it to see whether I spoil it or not, quite frankly.
Yeah, everyone believes you.
Alpha Legion.
Alpha Legion. Secrets and shit. Cool. Right, so do you want to talk about what's new then?
Yes.
Is there anything worth talking about?
Does it involve deodorant tanks?
Deodorant tanks. Grav. Fuck. Actually, first, before we go into the units, I want to make one statement here. How is the 40k Open Day the biggest heresy release of the fucking year?
You're really angry about this, aren't you?
I am. Because if I'd have known it, I'd bought a fucking ticket. There's Grav tanks. There's all kinds of shit coming out that I'd love to have gone. It's like shit we haven't seen. You know, the custom. I
would have gone. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't buy a ticket because it was the 40k Open Day.
There's loads, isn't there?
So... heresy, and it's loads of people going, shit, does anybody actually going to this? We need this shit. It's insane.
Is there any 40k stuff coming out?
I don't know. It's all I've only seen heresy stuff.
I just realised I haven't seen any.
I made this comment in the Wolf Slayer, didn't I, the other day? Is this a sad reflection on the state of 40k when their Open Day, the biggest things that are being talked about is the heresy game system?
I think it's just the nature of the way they do releases, because the main GW releases at the moment are kind of nice and neat, aren't they? With your small mini codex and your limited splash of new models, all fits over 1 or 2 issues of White Dwarf, whereas it doesn't really fit into the go to a show and have stuff you don't normally have. But the Forge World way of releasing stuff works really well with going to a show and getting stuff early that's not on full release. It doesn't really work with the plastic so much. So I think that's probably got something to do with it.
They didn't come up with this 40k Open Day in 5 minutes. They've had this plan for a while. You'd have thought they'd have something for this Open Day, something going on, a new model, something like that.
Well,
they might
do. It was going to be Magnus, and it was leaked.
Oh, it's possible.
Because
why haven't they come out and said you can pick up? Even if it leaked, Magnus will be available for sale at the Open Day.
They might.
We don't even know that.
We've got a week yet, so they might do.
Well, they do. Oh, it's true. They haven't got.
But they need to bring a.
They haven't got anything. They haven't got anything that has. They haven't got anything as the draw for you to buy, so you can be there to learn about the new stuff that they're gonna reveal.
If you were a 40k player, why would you go up there at the moment?
No, it's true. There's no excitement about the reveals.
Other than the Golden Demon, there isn't a lot of reason as a 40k player to go up there, because you probably know you're not going to see new models, because GW don't do that with 40k. They don't tend to spoil what's coming up, do they? They like as Stu said, they like their White Dwarf, their sort of weekly release cycle. They've not showcased anything special. There's no limited edition model or something to go up and get. I mean, kind of, what would be your reason for getting a ticket to go and see it?
If you think back to the old games days, yeah, they would occasionally have big releases, plastic releases on the games days. I remember the Space Wars being released when I went a few years ago, but it was always about the Forge World queue, wasn't it? Always,
Yeah.
and I suppose that's probably the same for these smaller days that are kind of replacing it. So I still think that even though it's 40k, it's about the Forge World queue. So the people who go to it aren't going to be the guys who go to Warhammer Fest. It's going to be the probably people that are a bit more hardcore, credit card in the pocket. And yes, I know these Forge World releases are mainly 30k related. So what have we got? We got the new Nightheads. There's Custodies transfers, there's Phoenix Spears, there's Death Guard Power Size, isn't there? There's the Grav Tank, Macaroid Explorator, Iron Warriors and World Eaters dice, a Lehman Russ arm print, a Custodies t-shirt,
the
Voltrax Stratos as well. So yeah, it's all Heresy related stuff, but
the thing is, for previous games days and stuff, Forge World releases was 40k stuff. It was all the Imperial Armour stuff, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Now it's all from. I know it's not a separate game system.
I've got it. I found it.
What?
I'm going to go and buy a ticket right now, and I'm going to get you both one as well because I know you love the shit. You can buy a new weapon system for your Tau Titan.
Oh, fuck me, let's go.
Super Tuna!
To be fair, I did have a little wobble with the ticket when I saw the thing saying Duncan will be doing painting demonstrations most of the day. I was like, oh, I'll go and see him. But then I thought, no, it'll all be on Warhammer TV soon. So
and then opened another bag of Cheetos. And
I am a little bit in love with Duncan. Thin your paints. I've thinned it, Duncan. I've thinned it. Thin it more.
Is this your fantasy you're vocalising at the moment?
I was going to say this is really Again, talking about Sex Dungeon, I don't know what the fuck that's about.
Duncan in his sex dungeon was yelling at me to thin my paint.
Pouring pots of paint all over you on the floor. Yeah.
Thin them with your spunk.
Oh, okay.
Jesus. Oh, right. What was I looking at? Voltarax. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, look at Voltarax. It's a horrible colour. Yeah. Actually, no, it's a horrible colour. Moving on.
I've admitted to things that I probably shouldn't admit to, should I? But oh well, there we go.
It's fine.
I love it. I have a man crush on him.
No, I can't see anything else at all anywhere on.
I can't see the law for a 40k player to go and buy a ticket to go there.
Yeah.
It is odd.
Other than, it's like I said, I mean.
Oh, you could get if you're a Space Marine player or a Chaos Space Marine player, you could get some Iron Hands dice, where the dice actually have the marking on the 6, rather than fucking retarded way that Games Workshop have it, where they have it on the 1. They've now released Iron Hands as well. That's it. More dice. Yay. No, it's really not worth a visit. Unless there's going to be a massive reveal. But again, there's no draw.
I'm hoping that. Yeah, but that's the thing. It's a gamble to say, okay, what we'll do is we'll drop a massive thing there, but we're not going to give them any other reason to come otherwise. I mean, it will sell out. It'll be busy. There will be plenty of people there. It's a given. I just like the Forge World Open Day and the Heresy Weekend Day. They don't have to tease stuff because the plan. Stuff's going to release there. You're going to want to be there because we know the story, but we don't know what's coming with this 40k Open Day.
Only thing I can think of, but I don't go on the rumour forums. I know you do it. The only thing I can think of is Magnus and some kind of 40k Thousand Suns, which would.
Codex.
It would really work with the Prospero stuff, wouldn't it? It means that box set supports 40k as well. So marketing wise, it would seem like a smart thing to do, and maybe there's a gap for it now. So maybe that's a possibility, or maybe that was planned and there's a reason why it's been held back, and that's why we've suddenly
Maybe.
making such a big thing out of all these sort of 30k ones. But oh well, it suits us. Not that we're not there, but it means that stuff's going to be out a week or two afterwards on sale. So if you want that stuff, you can get it.
Yeah. I mean,
there's nothing I really want, to be honest with you.
People, a few of our friends abroad that were like, "Are you going? I want a grav tank." I'm like, "Yeah, I would have gone and I would have got you them if we'd have thought that had actually been stuff to buy there, but no, unfortunately, we're not going."
Oh, when's the next Imperial Armor book? That's been delayed as well, hasn't it?
Interestingly, this is what I meant to say. Have you noticed that the Tyranids Imperial Armor book is in the new releases today?
Yes, I saw
Yeah,
that today.
yes, Nick. The next Imperial Armor book. I've seen that.
It's,
Did I not transmit that? Hello?
No. I thought you meant as in this one that's been rumored for a while, which is Admech and Tau and stuff.
Yeah, that's due. That's what I mean. Maybe they're gonna do that.
The Amphibian project's back in the new order section. So have they done a new version of that? Tyranids one, the one with the great big Biotitan on the front.
It's back. It's in what? The pre-orders?
It's in the pre-orders.
Really? Oh yeah, it is. I've heard nothing about that. But they've consistently said that the next release was going to be, the Tau and Mechanicum one. But
and they said got the Amphibian one.
Oh. Maybe my Titan will stop being shit and I'll actually be able to play it. Oh wait, I don't play 40k. Okay. Oh wait, it's gonna have rules for. Oh yeah, they want to sell more of their red scorpions. Oh, I don't see any reason to go. Apart from we could just go up for the day, just bribe people to buy us a grav tank. And then
buy me a grav tank. Are the tickets still for sale, or is it sold out now?
It probably sold out the instant that grav tank went up. Within 30 seconds.
It's sold out.
Oh, you would have to bribe people in the queue. Bribe people at the front of the queue.
Buy me a grav tank. I mean, if somebody does have a grav tank that they don't want when they go up there and they buy it, and listener, shoot me a message. I'll probably buy it off you. So, I don't want to use this undue influence, but fuck it. If you're going up there, get me a grav tank. I would quite like one for the custos. I'd like to paint it, mainly because I want to paint a gold tank. That'd be fucking cool. But yeah, it's a bit of a pain, isn't it? That gold is everything, especially with that scale 75 gold, Stu, wouldn't it? You're going to do a really nice gold tank with that, can't we?
Absolutely, definitely.
I'd really like that. So
I'll see.
Cool.
I might be looking to purchase that in the new year. Sorry, what are you gonna? This is good radio, isn't it? This is really good.
We're doing really fucking well here. Buy me a grav tank. That's all we got to take from it. Cool. Yeah. Anything else? And anybody seen anything else cool kicking around lately, or should we move on to new shit? Are we already on new shit?
That was the new shit conversation.
I'm the one that's supposed to be running on about 10%. What is wrong with you two? Jesus Christ!
I've had a long week. I drove to London and back in a day. I've been to London twice this week.
Oh no, not London. How far?
For you Australians and Americans will fucking laugh at me because it was like a 300-mile round trip, which is like popping to the supermarket for you guys. But that was a long old fucking day. And to be fair, I'm very busy painting Sigmar because we all know Sigmar that's far more important than Heresy.
I'll counter that with a couple of 1,000 miles, but we're not gonna compare dick sizes. So, again, London and back. I suppose you're driving yourself there and back is quite a
3 hour drive each way. So it's a bit of a pain in the dick. I got up at 5 a.m, drove to London, did a training session.
So was that 6 hours of Horus Heresy audio novels?
6 hours of driving. Yeah, I smashed through Fulgrim, literally. He took my pants down and smashed himself.
Smashed Fulgrim to bits.
Smashed through Fulgrim. In Angels of Caliban. Oh, it's the second time I said that. Fallen Angels. And actually, do you know what? I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying going back over Fallen Angels. I'm enjoying the book because I don't think there's that kind of. I know where the story's going. It's quite nice. I've had 5 books of the main sort of thrust of the betrayal and the heresy, and it's kind of acting as a bit of a palate cleanser, really. It's kind of like we've had this non-stop action through the original trilogy, Flight of the Eisenstein, Fulgrim, kind of, full on major story in the Heresy, and then it's kind of taken a change of pace to look at a very different story, and I'm quite enjoying it. To be fair, I know it gets panned a bit, Fallen Angels, but I'm really enjoying listening to it back again. That's quite cool. So yeah, smashed a load of Heresy novels in the car on audiobook. It's been really good. Yeah, so I'm delirious basically because I'm really tired. I'm drinking and I'm painting.
So we're all really clearly on form tonight. So I think the only thing to cover before we go into our next section is just, I suppose, cover what's in the White Dwarf very briefly. So there's a few hints about what's coming in the next White Dwarf, which is going to be interesting for all Heresy players. So obviously the Sisters rules are coming up in December, which is going to be really cool. I know a lot of people were disappointed that they weren't in this month. Some people were more interested in the Sisters than the Custodes or Custodes. We will cover that in a minute. There's going to be a bit. We know that there's going to be Talons of the Emperor list that's been mentioned in the rules this month from the Custodes, so we know that's coming in book 7. So there we're finding out some of the stuff that's going to be in book 7. I think there's a preview going to be in the December White Dwarf as well. There's also talking about a section about after Prospero. Can't even speak. So I think the November White Dwarf is ace, and I think the December one's going to be full of lots more Heresy stuff to keep Heresy players interested. So things to keep us going with this delayed book 7 by the looks of things. At least we've got some rules to play with our new plastics.
Yeah, I mean, not strictly Heresy related, but in the White Dwarf, there's a really good basing article in there. Have you had a look at the basing article in the White Dwarf?
Yeah, flick through it all. Really I've not read any detail
really good, simple ways to get some good bases together.
Yeah, there's some awesome stuff in it. And there's I'm not going to talk about it in detail here, but there's some new paints which look like just basically
the new pigment paints and stuff, which is really cool.
No, the pigment paints, which is supposed to mix with other things.
The pigments, the hints,
yeah, they look
very much like
interesting.
The Tamiya clears and stuff, don't they? And the intensity from scale 75. So.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to find out what they're like. It's good that they're trying new things and really trying to sort of give you more tools.
Cool. I mean, we've kind of glossed over the White Dwarf because I think what we're going to do, we're going to have a little break then, and we're going to come back and we're going to go and have a look at the big thing from them. We're going to do our unit review, and we're going to look at the unit review for the Custodes.
G52 is sponsored by Incom Gaming, the new centre for tabletop wargaming in Gloucestershire. Visit incomgaming.co.uk for great savings on pre-orders and all your hobby needs. We stock many gaming systems and hobby accessories and can ship to anywhere in the UK. Incom Gaming is the only UK stockists of the market-leading gaming mats from GameMats.eu. Visit the store and check out how to turn your tabletop into a battlefield. Incom Gaming is based in the centre of Cheltenham and offers tables and scenery for casual and organised play with a fully licensed bar. Check out our events page for upcoming events where everyone is welcome. Save an additional 10% on Games Workshop Heresy products by using the code GINO52 at the checkout. Visit incomgaming.co.uk and help fight the betrayal. Incom Gaming. Come game, shop, drink. To shop elsewhere is heresy.
Welcome back, guys. We've obviously just ploughed through our little intro section there, and we've chatted about some of the new stuff that's come out in the last few weeks. I think it's been quite a busy few weeks for Heresy fans. I think there's been some cool stuff. I mean, one thing we really haven't touched on is the Custodes. Come out with your Prospero box, these gold blingy, serious pieces of kit that have come out. Reason for that is we thought we'd do our little unit review on them. Obviously, the rules have dropped with White Dwarf now. We've got our Age of Darkness rules. We've got our points. We've got a way of putting them in as an allied detachment, which seems pretty cool. Really nice. So, what are the Custodes? Who the hell are these golden shiny nipple warriors? If you're not aware who the Custodes are, they are the elite bodyguard of the Emperor. I think the way it's been described is the Custodes are to the Emperor what the Space Marines are to the Primarchs. They're bigger, they're badder, they're rumoured to share gene stock with the Emperor. And as the current state, if we go with the current day in the 41st millennium, they are the sentinels of the palace. Now in 30k they tend to roam about. We know they got their asses kicked by Argyle Tal and the word bearers. They stomped over Prospero, so they obviously travel about with the Emperor. They tend to appear where the Emperor appears in the Age of Darkness. So
I tend to get wrecked quite a bit as well.
They do seem to get wrecked quite a fair bit.
It's like whenever every time that like they seem to be mentioned with the Emperor, they die in droves. They're just like I'm trying to remember the one of the recent books where it was some kind of the small flashback to part of the Ulanor campaign.
Was that the Wolf of Ash and Fire?
Yeah,
that sounds like it.
And it's just like they're talking about 10 of them, like 10 custos or like 50 custos or something, and then they just like they all just get wrecked and everything gets blown up, and then the Emperor like falls into the center of the planet, and you're like, oh, there goes like a legion or whatever custos just all dead, and you're like, Jesus Christ, look after your boys.
Tends to be a good narrative foil though, doesn't it? Build them up as the best of the best and kill them.
Just
to show how dangerous this situation is. So yeah, the Custos are pretty cool. They are the bodyguard of the Emperor. They are the Emperor's boy bitches. They're more powerful than Space Marines. They tend to. There's a lot of rumors that they're more akin to the Thunder Warriors of old than they are to the Space Marines. They're kind of a refined Thunder Warrior, as opposed to a Space Marine. They definitely hold themselves as a class apart from the Adeptus Astartes, don't they? Or the Legionis Astartes, I should say, really, shouldn't I?
They were definitely. I mean, obviously, yeah. Like you mentioned the Lightning Warrior dudes. They weren't the first or the first successful genetic warriors, super soldiers, whatever that the Emperor used. The Lightning dudes were his first like army that used to retake Terra and stuff. So once they were gone, then a more honed, perfected kind of bodyguard unit, because it's clear they're not an army.
No.
In a way, again, why do I keep referencing the worst fucking sci-fi films ever made? But the Star Wars films that shall not be named have one. I'm gonna say a really good quote. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Jedi says like, he says something like, what the fuck does he say? This is the best quote ever. He says something like,
good reference.
Yeah, he's like basically says like, we're bodyguards, we can't win a war for you, or some shit like that. Yeah, and he's basically saying like, we're not soldiers. There's not enough of us. Like, that's not our job. Like, we are badass individual ninja warriors, but we're not soldiers. There isn't enough of us. We're not trained in like complete arts of war. We're not all those things. But I suppose I see them more like a bit more like the Secret Service for a modern day comparison.
Yeah.
Within the Secret Service, you've then got a core group of people. A lot of the time, you may only have people talk about bodyguards, but people in positions of power, they generally only have like in films they seem to have one. I don't know why film like Hollywood hang on to that for whatever reason, but you normally have at least two. Sometimes it's like 5 like actual bodyguards. So you see like the president moving around and he's got Secret Service with him, whatever. You've got 5 people who their core job is basically to be in a position to take a bullet. Like, that's all they're there for, and they're covering like a shot from somewhere that isn't securable, and like that's like obviously they're doing other Secret Service stuff, close protection stuff, but they're there to take a shot. And then you've got the wider, and they are Secret Service dudes with it, with all the training and all that. But then there's the wider Secret Service around them and the support units and all that kind of stuff. But they're not going to win a war. You can't, like, you don't have them in the numbers.
Yeah.
And you don't want to lose them. You don't want those guys to be dying because they're going to take a lot of replacement.
I think we see a lot of them in First Heretic, don't we? And I think they give a very good description of them when the word bearers are watching them fight. That the Custos fight as a group of incredibly able individual warriors, whereas the legions fight as a legion. You know, their strength is in the fact that you're taking 20 of these dudes on, and they protect each other. They work as a unit. Whereas the custodes one-on-one will annihilate anybody, but they don't have that kind of interlinking tactic. They don't fight as a group. They fight as, they rely on their own individual skill as a warrior. I mean, we see that in either of you two Red Blood games.
No.
I don't think I have Red Blood games.
You should have done. If you've read the compilations, it's a really good story about do you know what the Blood games are?
Oh, I know. Sorry,
No?
yeah. I know, yeah.
The
But
Blood
they practice infiltrating the
yeah.
palace.
So a custode will be sent off and told, try and kill the emperor.
I have read it. It's just I don't remember the individual titles from all of them.
So the custode is a fiercely able warrior, because I think in the Blood games he gets pretty damn close to killing the emperor, or being able to strike a blow at the emperor before he gets caught, and it shows you how amazingly able they are as an individual. But you see them on the battlefield quite regularly, like we said, getting their face smashed in, because while they're all supreme warriors, they don't fight well. I think that's how Argutal and the World Bearers take them down in the end, is they basically mob them with so many bodies, so many Astartes, that no matter how good a warrior you are, you're just outnumbered. We're just going to keep, we've got so many bodies and we fight as a unit together. And they think they split them into individuals and drive them apart and basically wear them down. So I mean that's the role, isn't it? It is a bodyguard. It's an individual who can fight and die on his own, and is a different role from the Astartes warrior.
Yeah, they seem like escorts when they're away from Terra, don't they? They seem to be small bands of them sent away on particular missions, but that's not really what they're designed to do. The primary role is to be bodyguards at home. And you talked about the Blood Games thing. I didn't remember the name of the title, but they're trying to infiltrate the very place that they're defending themselves. So they're looking at it from it's obviously enhancing their defending ability as well, because they're looking at it from how an ultimate attacker would infiltrate the palace as well. So they're very much there as bodyguards. So I think they're a little bit out of place when they go off on.
The second short story with the Custodes in that was very interesting to read is the one. It is a Blood game again, but it's got a different title. And essentially, what the guy, the Custode trying to infiltrate the palace does is he gives false orders to I think it's an Imperial Fist, basically a garrison, a floating garrison. I think it's one of the orbitals, to move it over the Palace of Terra, to basically sit this orbital over the top. Of course, the Custodes shit themselves, shit a brick, and go, somebody's moving an orbital plate over the top of the palace, and they roll out in force. They've got talking about jet bikes and grav tanks and flyers and all kinds of stuff that the Custodes move out in force to basically end up killing Imperial Fists. While this Blood, and then right at the end they go, oh fuck, there's that dude who's trying to infiltrate us for the Blood game.
Just another Monday, it's fine.
Yeah, it's a really good description of the chaos going around Terra, the logistical nightmare of organising the defence of Terra. But it's quite interesting. While they are bodyguards and we're talking about an elite band, they obviously have the power to move in force. There's a scene in the Iron Warriors book, the really good one, with Perturabo and Fulgrim, Angel Exterminatus, where they're in their warrior lodge, and they've got a great big table that they simulate battles on. It's like a massive war game, and they're playing quite regularly. The main characters are staging the invasion of Terra, the fight of Terra. And they talk about, rolling out, what they're moving pieces around this board. And they talk about moving 1,000 Custodes as an army division out to fight, and how that affects the game. So, I mean, they obviously have a serious force, I think I've heard them saying, between.
So let's put it in some scale. Let's put it in some kind of scale, though. That may be a serious force when you're talking about protecting a palace. That's not a serious force when you're talking about anything else. They like that again.
Oh yeah.
They're designed for that
But
role.
we're not talking about a core of a couple of hundred here. We are talking about in the scale of the heresy, they are an elite small force. But I mean, if you think about it, if there are ranges between 1,000 and 10,000 custodes, are kind of the numbers that are kicked around. That is between 1 and 10 chapters of Space Marines as we know them in 40k. 10 chapters of, you're talking 40k of a chapter of Space Marines being an incredible.
It's nothing. Again, it shows you how
big the heresy
negligent. Yes, it shows you how insanely huge the heresy was. It shows you how much of a massacre on the scale of just bonkers it was. I mean, the remnants that we're left with in 40k is a complete farce. But
somebody saying more. Was it more Space Marines died on Isfahan than there are alive today? Well, alive
in 40k. Yeah,
which
I think
is
that's
fucking absolutely bonkers because that's just fucking batshit. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, and again, if you worry too much about any of the numbers, you start to scratch your head and think, how would they be able to do this but also do this and cover this amount of space? And so we won't worry too much about that. But I think just going back to the core of what they are, just a bodyguard, but in their purest sense, like most things to do with the kind of Imperium, they obviously harken back to the Roman influence. Like these guys, they are the Praetorian Guard, basically. Like in numbers, the fact that they can also be used to bolster a force, the fact that quite a large number of them, compared to the 50 or 100 or a couple hundred you might see are dotted around, or even a few more accompanying the Emperor out and about. But when he actually went out to battle, he would take a couple of thousand with him, or 1,000, or however many it was. That fits in perfectly with the Praetorians. Like that's basically what they are. Like
yeah. My point was just kind of with the scale we're talking of. We are talking about an elite bodyguard force, but we can be talking 1,000 to 10,000 bodies. In the scale of the heresy, it's not a lot, but it's still they are an effective fighting force. We're not talking about 50 dudes here. We're talking about the Imperial Palace is the size of a continent. We're talking a force capable of defending a continent here.
Yeah. I mean, there's quite a few. So again, in comparison with the Praetorians, that I'm not going to remotely claim to be an expert on that period of history at all, but I'm pretty sure there were similar numbers. And again, I don't know why I'm using the Secret Service as an example. Poor Americans and their horrible political situation at the moment, but I'm pretty sure there's similar numbers with the Secret Service, and again, there's many thousands of them. You only ever think really of the 10 that you might see dotted about, or a few guys on a guard post, a few guys walking next to a limo, whatever. But there's many thousands of them, and they have access to choppers, and they have access to heavy munitions and armored vehicles and whatever. If shit hits the fan, they need to be able to fight a counterinsurgency and reach somewhere. It's ever such a slight step up from that, and it is more like just those Praetorians that we talked about. The fact that the Emperor can just turn around and go, "All right, guys, I'm going for a walk. I want to go and smash some orcs. You 1,000, come along." And then they were like, "Oh, please don't!" Like last time, none of you came back. It was like you lost half a legion and almost lost a Primarch. And I reckon this eventually, if they come out with what happened to the other two Primarchs, it's just going to be like
they went out with the Emperor.
The Emperor and Russ got drunk and went out, and just everybody died apart from them, and they were just left floating through space. And the Emperor was like, "Fuck, sorry, dude." And Russ was like, no big. And then the Emperor teleported them both home and just made a deal that Russ was like some badass executioner, and they made up some big story, and no one ever talks about it.
Not the Emperor was pissed up on a walk and he fucked up a couple of Primarchs and some legions.
Yeah, it's not just, it's like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas sort of thing.
That's a hell of a trip to Vegas. I lost 2 superhuman warriors in.
Accidentally killed 2 sons, a couple of 1,000 custodes. Oh shit!
Fuck me, what a bender. So enough with slandering the Emperor then. Stu, do you want to give us a run through the unit? So what sort of unit?
Sorry, just quickly. Are we jumping on one side or the other with regards to naming conventions, pronunciation?
Custodes, where do you fall?
Well, I have to say that Laurie, Black Library
official
editor, I was going to think of. I was going to say instigator. I don't know why. What's he instigating? But that's not the word I was looking for. But Laurie tweeted custodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
Duncan.
custodes, very clear.
Duncan on his video says custodes.
Yeah, well, you know where I'm going with my answer, don't you?
Go on.
I follow Duncan in everything.
Oh!
He is my god and my hero.
So
and also it means I can say Astartes a lot.
So I've always said custodes, and I've always said Adeptus Arbites. I've never, until recently, I'd never heard anybody say Adeptus Arbites. But suddenly everyone's saying custodes and Adeptus Arbites. But I've always said Adeptus Arbites.
Astartes, Custodes, Arbites.
I think his answer really is it's not really Gothic.
It's not real.
Bastardized Latin.
It's not Latin,
really. So you can do what you want with it. Really. I'm trying to think now to the audio books and how I know they quite often pronounce things wrong, but
multiple ways.
Sure they. I'm sure they say Custodes, but I don't know now. But
listening to the original 3 trilogies, every character's voice changes between each book and sometimes between each chapter. Loken's got about 8 different voices through the series. It's, oh fuck, who's that? Oh, it's Loken. Oh, really?
It's not easy to do. I was reading the Gruffalo tonight to my son just before he came to bed, and the fox had a different voice every page. So it's not that easy to remember what voice he is. No.
It's not easy. It's not easy to put a voice on.
Different issue. You're not getting paid to read that, and you can't pause and do edits and go back and review.
I probably could at this age. He wouldn't care. I'm just trying to send him to sleep. So where are we going? We're talking about the actual base rules for the units.
Run us through the two squads then. What can we field? How do they work out?
Well, first of all, I was surprised it was 2. I don't know if that's caught you guys off guard as well. I think when we saw the models released, we assumed it would be a unit, or what were the stat line for this unit stroke, special character stroke, elite model. But there are actually 2 squads. So there's the Custodian Guard, which are troops. The stat line and everything they do doesn't seem very much like troops, but that's where they fall. And then the Sentinel Guard squad falls under elites. So both units start with 3 as base, but I'll go for the Custodian Guard first. So 165 points for the 3. They have their Custodian armor, which I'll let Nick go through the special rules later. But Custodian armor, Guardian spear, close combat weapon, plasma and clap grenades, and then the special rules are preternatural skill, stolidality, and viable psych, and they're bulky. And then the Sentinel Guard, the major difference is their weapons. They're 195 points for 3 of those. But they come with the Sentinel Warblade. So if you've seen the pictures of the plastics and you wonder why some have the spear and some have that weird Masters of the Universe He-Man type sword, well, that's the Sentinel Blade is the Masters of the Universe He-Man type sword. They also have a shield. Yeah. Also have a shield, which the guys with the Custodian, the Guardian Spear don't. And they have the same special rules, apart from Shield Bulwark, which is an extra one to do, obviously, with the shield they have. So they're very, very similar. The stat lines are exactly the same. So their weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness, all 5, which is pretty disgusting, really. 2 wounds, initiative 4, 2 attacks, leadership 9, and they have 2 up saves. They do have invuns, but we'll talk about that when we go into their special rules and what the shields do.
Yeah, pretty beastly. I mean, the Custo Guard squad is 3 base, and you can add up to another 6 for 55 points, can't you? And same with the Sentinel Guard squad, 195 for 3, but it's 65 points each for them. So it seems pretty relative. Slightly different war gear and stuff, and slightly more. So 55 points a model basically for these guys. They're pretty brutal for that price, aren't they?
Cheap as fuck.
It's really cheap.
I mean, how much are we looking for Fire Drakes or something like that? I mean, Fire Drakes are a beat stick. He says. Asking a question without having the fucking
thing is, they don't. I looked at Terminators today. That was the first place I went to, and they don't really compare with Terminators. So you look at some of your better. I think I noted Fire Drakes. So they're the same points wise, but they're obviously a massively increased stat line and rules. But they just don't compare with any Terminators, even basic Terminators.
Yeah.
They're better weapon skill, ballistic skill, strength, toughness. They got more wounds. So they're better leadership. It's better at everything.
Yeah, if I follow my example, then Fire Drakes, 275 points for 5. So points wise, about Custo's a little bit cheaper. Custo Guard squad. Like you said, weapon skill 5, BS 4, strength 4, toughness 4, 2 wounds, initiative 4, attacks 2, leadership 9. So you're getting what you're getting for your custos. You get an extra ballistic skill, you get an extra strength, toughness. Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean they're 2 up, 4 up, and what? Obviously the invuns on the custos. You get a 5 up invun. So there's a few balancing factors there. They're not. Strength 5, toughness 5 is going to make them a pain in the ass when you're fighting them in combat. That little tweak's going to help, but I don't think they're as far out from Terminators as you were saying, Stu. I think.
I think we should let Nick go through the special rules and the weapons. Go on, compare them.
Take us through everything else.
So we're going to we'll go into some more details and come back to why some of the rules really make a difference, and we could do a bit of math hammer and all the usual stupid shit, but just straight up the fact that you're comparing, and also I'll go into more detail on this in a minute, but the fact you're comparing what we now know is the basic troop choice, or one of the basic troop choices of a new army with the best unit of a fucking legion.
Yeah, that's a fair.
Like you're literally comparing the best Death Star building elite unit that's available with the troop choice of another one, and saying, and how much did you say the base Fire Drakes were?
275.
That's 55.
275.
So it's the same points, isn't it?
275 for 5.
Oh, yeah, it's just bonkers. Like I'm really excited about them. I'm really excited. I think they're going to be amazing. They're going to be so much fun.
Take us through the special rules and the war gear then, before we get too deep into.
Let's have another. Can I be really annoying? Can we just run over the other basic squad, and then we'll come back and talk about some of the differences? It'll become clear why.
I think we need to. I think we need to give some grounds to it. What this war gear and all the rules are first, before we start comparing, don't you?
Okay.
In case people haven't got the White Dwarf in front of them, they don't know. We're going to start talking about weapons and things, and people aren't going to have the reference. So just give us a quick overview of the special rules and the war gear.
Okay, so first of all, one of the most important ones. You can argue probably the shield is the defining piece of war gear for the unit. And basically what the shield gives them is the 4-up invuln. So straight away, they're on par with pretty much the best invuln available to
it's same
anything in the game.
Then, 2-up,
so that only goes on the Sentinel Guard, obviously not the Custodian squad.
Yeah.
So obviously there's 2 units here, so they compare slightly differently, but the shield is only. That gives them the 4-up invuln. That's only on the Sentinel Guard. The Custodian Guard themselves, Their custodian armor gives them a 5-up invuln.
Sorry,
So
I
you
must
want-
have said
so
now
you want
completely.
two different
Were we
saves
talking about?
then.
Are we talking about the custodian guard, or are we talking? Which one were we talking about first? Sorry.
I was
Well,
just saying, go
you
through
mentioned the
the
shields,
general-
and they're on the. You can only take them on the sentinel guard.
I thought we were talking about the guard first. Sorry, I said I'm really not with it.
It's all right.
Are we
We're talking about both units, really. I suppose it's because we need to compare them both
So
and see which is better.
this is why I was trying to say about the way I see them. Like I don't necessarily, while they are different units, I don't see them in that way as such because the war gear.
Well, that's the only different war gear, really, isn't it? The shield and the special rule that entails, because that's giving you the shield bulwark special rule, but it's also giving you the better invuln. The other special rules are the same across both units.
So, right. So the reason I want to talk about the shield particularly was because you're talking about the Terminators. So the fact that as a unit they come with the shield, straight away you're negating the need to spend points on upgrading them. You don't need to worry about going over bringing in, I don't know, an apothecary to add feel no pain. You can kind of just get a really good solid tough tar pit unit or defensive unit without worrying about like any awkward upgrade points or extra war gear or anything like that. So you got the shield that gives them that 4-up invuln, which isn't good enough on its own. That 4-up is re-rollable if it fails in a wound that's taken in an assault. Obviously, the same with I think every other shield. I don't know of any that breaks this rule. Same as any shield, when you equip it, it means that you don't claim the extra attack for having 2 close combat weapons, and it means you can't have a two-handed. Oh, actually, it specifies you can't have a two-handed weapon. A lot of the time, shields don't specify that.
That's because it goes with the as I said before, the Sentinel Guard unit, the guys that have the swords rather than
the spears.
rather than the spears.
Yeah,
spears are only
but a
on
lot
the
of the
custodian
time
guard.
you can take a shield,
And a spear.
and it doesn't specify that you can't take a two-handed weapon. So, for example, taking a combat shield on an assault dude, like a Empress Children guy, so he can get defensive grenades, and then you can still take a two-handed weapon. The Phoenix Spear. That's quite interesting. But yeah, so obviously, yeah, so that's built to go with the Sentinel Warblade on that unit. The Sentinel Warblade, AP3. So straight away, these guys just they have power weapons. Dirty, great big Warblade. A lot of people don't like these Warblades. What do you guys think of the model for the Warblades?
I prefer the look of the
Sisters.
the normal. No, I prefer the look of the.
Oh.
That's Tom that's obsessed with the sisters. I prefer the look of the Custodian Guard, but now I can see why that did. When I first saw the models, I thought, I hope I can just build it all with the Guardian Spears. But now I see the different units and the different uses for them. You're going to want at least a unit of each, aren't you? And God knows what makeup you'll have when we see the full list for them. But they're not as nice looking as the spears, I'm afraid. They do look a bit Masters of the Universe, as we've already alluded to.
Okay. Yeah, I like them. I think they remind me of like Final Fantasy. If anyone's ever seen the ridiculous, over-the-top, massive swords that they have in that range of games, like anime kind of style, quite like those. So yeah, so you got the sword, strength user, AP3, but what's even more impressive is that it's rending, so that's disgusting. So you're getting increasing that to AP2 on a 6, and the extra rules come with rending, and it's a specialist weapon. So unless you're equipped with another one, which they're not going to be, you don't get the extra attack. And then the built-in bolt caster is only 12-inch range, but it's strength 4 AP5, assault 2. The fact that both the variations of the bolter is assault 2 is bonkers. It means you can just shoot all the time and charge whatever you like. don't worry, that's amazing. And it's got the Hail of Fire rule, which means that you're snap shooting a BS2. So Overwatch is insane. Everything about them is just better than your standard gear. A lot of it's better than like Paragon gear as well. I was going to assume that a lot of their weapons are going to be like the Paragon blades and the Paragon bolters and all that kind of stuff that the knights get, but these are these are pretty tasty. And then you got the special rules that basically both, like as you said, both current troop choices get the preternatural skill special rule. For me, this is they've done really well. The game, it's high praise coming from Nick. Well done, Forge World. You've done really well at your job as a games designer. They get a bonus of +1 to their initiative in the sort phase if the weapon skill is equal to or greater than the majority weapon skill of the units that they are fighting. So again, along with the AP3 on the Warblade, just as standard, both of them are weapon skill 5. So for the vast majority of troops, and again, we're going to be, just as a starting point, these are troops, so we take it back to that. You're going to be getting an extra initiative, and they're already initiative 4. So you're going to be swinging before everybody, and you're going to be having a higher weapon skill anyway. So they've kind of, in a very simple way, made them like a very cool combatant. Like it's almost effortless, like you imagine a custodian guard should be. Like there's no really complicated shit to it. Okay, that rule, especially when I'm fucking as ill as I am, maybe that rule sounds a little bit complicated, but it's really not. That's just, it's a simple way of making them go first. They don't need the charge. There's nothing complicated. You just go, okay, what weapon skill are your Space Marines? Oh, they're 4, like the vast majority of them. I'm 5. Yeah, and what initiative are you for? Oh, I'm now 5. You're dead. So you don't swing back, and you've got 2 guys left, and then we sweep you. It's just, it's awesome. The next one, here we go. Pronunciation on this, sodality.
I think I've already butchered it once, so I think you've done a better job there. It's quite fluffy, this one, based on what Tom was talking about earlier when he was saying about the fighting on their own more, not so good at fighting in a unit, and they've actually got a wider unit coherency, so it's 3 inches rather than 2. So that sort of talks about them being more individuals rather than being a tight knit fighting force. So I quite like that.
I mean, there's your anti-blast weapon defense with these guys as well. With no transport, is you can spread them. I mean, Stu, me and you have had games where your breaches. I've been firing weapons at them with blast, but just can't hit enough of them because you're very good at keeping them 2 inches apart.
With my 2-inch widget.
Yeah, your 2-inch widget.
It's not a euphemism either. That is a piece of plastic.
He's talking about 2-inch girth, ladies. 2-inch girth. Yeah, but being able to spread that an extra inch if you're foot slogging across the table to try and get to somebody, and you've got Typhon shells and things like that coming in. Typhon shell's going to hit you anyway, but quad mortar blasts and things like that. If you've got an 1.5-inch diameter blast template, a 3-inch blast template, and you've got to center that over the top, the chances are the small blast template's only ever going to hit one of these guys. So quad mortar barrages and stuff, you really are, it does come in quite handy.
Especially when they're clearly going to be low head count, aren't they? The cost of them, they're not. Maybe we'll allude to cost in a minute, but whether they're too cheap or not. But you're still not going to have like 50, 60 models on the table, I doubt, with running this kind of army. So you're going to need to keep them alive a little bit longer. So makes sense.
And keeping them spread, cool.
Yeah, great area coverage, great area, board denial, ability to do silly shenanigans with, models out of line of sight and some models in line of sight to get a charge, and then all the shit you can do with not being able to return fire if some models are out of line of sight and all the stupid shit like that. It makes all that kind of stuff really handy. You can bait with like one guy and the rest of them all hiding behind the wall chuckling, and then they'll come rushing out and stab you in the face. It's really cool. And again, yeah, like I said, it's very fluffy. They would spread out a bit more, and they'd be that individual tough guy rather than operating as a squad per se. I mean, obviously they are still going to work well together, but they're much more individuals. The next one, there's been some really interesting back and forth. People are complaining that they are not fearless.
Yeah.
So they've been very specific, and
they're immune to fear.
Yeah, inviolable psyche. A unit with this special rule is immune to fear and can reroll failed deny the witch attempts. So I like that they can reroll failed deny the witch attempts. They're not immune to psychic shit. They can still get wrecked, but they have a bit of inbuilt psychic defense. So we know from the Black Library novels that pretty much everybody that worked close to the Emperor at any time had some kind of psychic defense built into them, some kind of rejigging of their psyche. So you imagine that the Custos definitely would have done. So the fact that they've got some kind of core psychic defense built in there is quite good. But yeah, being immune to fear is a good way of balancing it again.
I honestly think fearless would have been a bit much, because there's not a lot of fearless outside of Primarchs and Chaplains. It's quite hard to get fearless. Giving them fearless, I think, would have been a bit much. I think, you get a lucky round of combat with your Terminators. You manage to sink a couple of wounds on them and knock 2-3 guys. Maybe knock a guy down and put a wound on someone else. You've got a chance to sweep them. If you're not in Cathraphi.
I have a bit of a bugbear in that I fucking hate fearless in 40k. I hate the fact that the Space Marines have and they show any fear. I think it's
but that's not
lazy. No. But I hate the impact that has on the game.
Essentially, when you start playing 40k, if you start playing Space Marines, you don't understand why there's a leadership profile, because you essentially just ignore all the negative effects of it. You just, I failed a leadership check. Oh well, I've come out of combat. Oh well, thank you.
Right, and I don't want to be seeing that in 30k. I also don't think that chaplains should be able to dish it out. That's another argument, but the fact that they've done that's really good. That shows really good.
They're tough. They're scary, but they're not. They're not invincible, which I think again fits the fluff, doesn't it?
Yeah. Ultimately, they're not brain wiped like Clone Warriors, which is what or completely religious xenophobes like they would be like most like 40k for example, or their brain wiped clones, nutters or whatever. But they're going to get scared, potentially get broken, get their mind fucked with. There's multiple reasons, or just want to run away like a little girl. Or fall back. There's going to be reasons for that. But the way that they've done that built that as a game mechanic means it's actually playable. I think it works really well, as you said, that particularly with regards to like the combat resolution aspects. It's very well designed. I really like that, and it was very subtle. Like again, it's not just. I didn't actually read the 40k rules.
It would have been easy.
It would have been
easy to say fearless.
Yeah, exactly.
But they've actually sat down and gone, right, we want to give them something, but fearless is a bit much. But they are scary, so yeah, fear. And they're pretty tough in the mind. All right, I think with the rules that are coming out at the moment, when the Thousand Suns drop, we're all going to need a bit more psychic defense, because its psychic phase is going to come a bit more of an issue. So they've obviously given them something, because at the moment, reroll failed deny the witch attempts. Yeah, I've got it with Gilliman, and it doesn't really ever come in. But I think in the coming few years, maybe we'll see more psychic and things like that will start to become pretty damn powerful. Actually, will start to really help.
Fingers crossed. It's going to come in. It's going to come real handy. I just we've got a lot of discussions to come about the psychic side of things as the Thousand Suns drop and develop and more armies, more special units and more people pick them up. So we'll save all those kind of discussions for another time. But yeah, it's definitely going to come into play. And again, most importantly, both aspects of that were all just super fluffy. So next up, we got the Custodian armor. Oh, Custodian armor. Fluff basically says, pimp my armor. As far as I can see, that's like gold, shiny. Arrays of proximity sensors. Oh, just in case you. Is that like when you reverse so that when they're walking backwards? Like beep, beep. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Okay, cool. Refractor field generators. What the fuck? Further enhances defenses. Cool. Okay, so they're like it's super artificer armor. It's pimped out artificer armor. Okay, custodian armor provides a 2+ armor save and a 5+ invul. So straight away, you've got 2+, 5+. So you don't even. It's awesome. And very importantly, it confers move through cover. So these guys are going to be fast.
Yeah, 3d6 through cover is fucking brilliant.
They're going to be dashing across the board, just like.
Especially if they are foot slogging and you're going to want to keep them in cover.
They're going to be just. So you keep coming. Okay. I'm getting angry because I'm feeling ill still. But people saying things triggering me, or just twitching little. You're assuming because they haven't got a transport that you mentioned foot slogging quite a few times.
Because at the moment,
why have you mentioned that so times?
As we know, as we can talk about, we can only talk about foot slogging. I'm not saying they won't get a transport. I'm pretty damn sure they will get some kind of transport. We've seen the hover tank. There's going to be a transport. But if I put them on the field today, they are foot slogging. So that's the context we've got to work in at the moment.
Okay, that's fair enough.
That's it. I'm not disagreeing. I definitely think they will have a transport and they need a transport. But at the moment, and I was saying, move through cover will be bloody handy to begin with. Yeah. Because you can hug. But,
even
cover and keep
even with a transport, like you jump out.
Oh yeah, disembarking
you jump out and you want to
getting out. It will be bloody handy.
It's gonna be awesome. Yeah, cool. Okay, I won't get triggered too much then. Guardian Spear is next up, which we all know and love, and as the fluff rightly says, the signature weapon of the Legio Custodes. And in many ways, their symbol of office is the Guardian Spear. It's Guardian Spear! What did I say? Elegant and deadly. Oh, elegant and deadly. So it's a power blade with an integrated pulver.
Like that.
What's that? You met a few girls like that. Elegant and deadly. Oh. Considering except parry. It can strike and parry despite its size. I bet you've been told that a few times as well. So it's a Guardian Spear. It's a power blade. Is that new? A power blade? It's actually called out as a specific weapon type rather than power sword, power.
Yeah, it's not a power. It's a power weapon, but it's a power blade.
Power blade,
like a power dagger.
Okay, and I just noticed that. Yeah, that's cool. I think that's new. Listeners, write in if power blade is already a thing. It's for melee, obviously. Strength is user at AP3. So straight away, before we go too far, oh my god, the outrage at this.
Strength 5 AP3. That's pretty tough.
But everybody was complaining about this.
That is a tax.
Without all the other. Without all the other like.
Talking about, we're talking 2 attack space, 3 on the charge, 3 attacks, strength 8, AP3.
Yep.
Yeah. Hi, Marine Squad. Fuck you. Attack squad gone. 3 guys. So what you're talking? 9 attacks. You're talking 9 attacks at initiative 5 because you're going to be a higher weapon skill.
I'll come into some hilarious.
Yeah. Sorry, let's go through the unit because I think that's the next discussion, isn't it?
But that's what I really like. That's what I really like about all of these rules, and I like about everything they've done with them, is it encourages you and encourages most people that I've discussed it with to actually like think about things like that a bit more. Not just, oh, they got 2 wounds and oh, they look like a Terminator points. And I'm not an advocate for running the game entirely on Math Hammer. I just find that interesting because that's the way my brain works. But
what's the real bonus with Guardian Spear? So
it's the fact that, like the Emperor's Children one, which is supposedly a mere replica, if you get the charge with it, it becomes +1 strength and AP 2.
Strength 6, AP 2, 3 attacks on the charge. Fuck you, Terminators.
And then it has the additional rule of being lightning blows.
Oh yeah, Christ, yeah.
And lightning blows is basically exploding 6s. So every 6 you get to hit goes and fucking hits you again.
Another attack to hit again. So
yeah. And that doesn't generate more attacks, but dude, just that on its own is.
I know we were talking about Math Hammer and not relying on it, but you know these things. 9 attacks on the charge then. Weapon skill 5, weapon skill 6 against weapon skill 4. How many 6s should we get on average? 1 or 2?
So I'm trying to think what
9 dice. How many 6s should we get?
Are we going to do like a squad of 5?
No, it's squad of 3, so 9 attacks. We're just talking base.
Oh, okay.
3 attacks each.
How
1 or 2?
Probably about 1.3 or something.
So say an extra one. So you're adding an extra attack for every 3 guys on the charge. So you knock that out to a squad of 6. So you're talking 2 maybe 3. You average dice, say call it 3. So you're adding an extra body's worth of attacks on top, an extra custodes attacks on top with that rule on average with the full squad. That's fucking insane.
And again, it's because it's on a to hit of 6. It's not related to the wound pool. It's not related to reliance on weapon skill. It's not whatever issues are there. It's not anything to do with toughness or a reduction in save. All it does is outside of player control, whether buffing it or being able to negate it from a defensive standpoint, is it gives the attacker more reason to be more
aggressive and more
units. Yeah, and it just basically says like
you're going to pick up
your 9, really. Yeah.
You're going to pick up your 9 dice. You're going to throw them down, and then you're going to go, oh look, 2 6s, right? 2 more dice from the pool. Throw them again. Let's see what we do. And you're just adding extra attacks in. That's batshit. Like I said, I mean, you're on the charge. Your weapon skill 5, initiative 5. Strength 6, AP 2, exploding 6s. Fuck me, that is going to tear somebody a new one on the charge.
Bear in
mind,
so fluffy. I love it.
People get angry with me when I run 5 suzerain into them and they're hitting at strength 4, AP 2 at initiative 4.
So this is the thing. People were complaining, and again, assuming you got the charge and you're AP2, it's redonkulous. It's killing artificer armor. It's killing, or forcing Terminator.
Yeah, I mean that's going to take out my Terminator. That's going to take out my suzerain squad because I'm going to be on a 5-up invuln. Yeah,
it's forcing invuln saves, or it's wiping out. Basically, it's wiping out everything without an invuln save. The major selling point there, though, again, is that you've got to remember that it's because of their base unit rule, they're going to be going before you, so you don't get to hit back.
Yeah.
So the more hits you get, and the more if you are getting the assault, you can just cause so much devastation that they're never going to do anything back to you.
You're looking at running into that squad and taking them down before they've even had a chance to hit you. It is an alpha strike in combat, isn't it? So anyway, that's the Guardian Spear Power Blade. Run us through what else it's got, because it's got a bolt slap.
Yeah, it's got the built that amazing. I said it's a signature weapon. It's got the built-in bolt gun, which is range 18. I don't know why that's range 18 and the other dude's one's only 12. I'll have to think about that. So it's range 18, strength 4, AP 4, and again it's assault 2. So they're just shooting and charging everywhere all the time.
Yeah. So
Anywhere they want to go, they're running through cover, they're jumping over walls, they're shooting you in the face, they're charging you, they're chopping you to bits, and you're just dead.
shorter range, but always 2 shots. No having to get within 12 to rapid fire. You're
Nope.
just going to keep blatting shots at everybody.
Yeah, you're shooting people, double tapping them, and then you're killing the couple, and then you're charging. You're taking a couple of wounds. Don't care. You can allocate them, and you got multiple wounds. Don't care. Get into combat. They're chopped to bits. So, as I said, this caused a lot of rage because people were really worried about why it wasn't. Why isn't it AP2 all the time? And it's a lot. It's
because it doesn't need it.
No, if it was AP2 all the time, I mean, it wouldn't be incredibly bonkers, batshit crazy powerful, but it would be massively. But oh god, it would be. Okay. Honestly, it would.
You think if it was AP2 all the time, it would put in Primarchs onto their invuns all the time as well?
I don't know. I honestly don't know how you'd counter in most armies. I mean, apart from just massively outshooting them
you'd have to shoot them off the table.
Yeah, but even then,
But
again,
even then,
they are going to be in transport. We know they're going to get transports. They're going to be in transport. So,
thing is, though, even if you look at it from a tactical point of view, if I'm having to turn all my fire on the Guardians, the Custos, to get rid of them before they get to me, what's the rest of the other army doing? It's coming at me. So if you're focusing,
because again,
say this to me all the time. My unit hasn't made its points back. Yeah, but you've just committed 2,000 points of an army to fire at it, to kill it.
Yeah.
So the 500 points you've lost, you've lost 300 points, but 1,500, 2,000 points of your army is unscathed and has got through a turn fine. So, yeah, let's move on to the Sentinel Warblade, because to be perfectly honest, I'm not that impressed with the Sentinel Warblade, and I'd like to hear your opinions on that.
It's rending. I think pretty much that's all that matters, really. It's
You say that, but I came from 40k in Grav, where I used to fish for 6s to kill vehicles with Grav, and relying on getting 6s on attacks it's not a sound strategy. You need a lot of volume, and you need to be able to re-roll things to be able to sort of rely on 6s. So rending to me is good, but I can't. I'd rather know that I was getting AP3 or AP2 depending on my charge, and being in control of that rather than going, right, I'm going to hit it. I need lots of rending, so I'm just going to throw some dice at it and see what I can do.
Well, it is AP3 though, isn't it? And
yeah,
this is what I'm saying. Is again, you're I think you're falling into the trap that, and I keep saying it, like, these are troops. They are too.
The Sentinel Warblade is on the elite.
It's elite.
Yeah.
This is elites now.
Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry. We come back to the Warblade. Sorry. Okay, 195 points.
Oh no, I'm fully sold. I'm fully sold on the Guardian Spear. It's the Warblade that I'm not. I don't think it's bad. I'm just not sold on it.
Okay, the reason that, again, if this was AP2 all the time, it would be ridiculously broken, is that, well, again, why would you ever need, fire drakes? Like they're just that difference between standard marine killing capability and killing another unit that's taken an upgrade. So you take your 10 points for your artificer armor, or you take your apothecaries that feel no pain, primus medicae if you feel no pain, or you take your special rules that give your units increased toughness, or your Legion Astartes rules that give you increased toughness and making you harder to wound. All of these things that you have to do and think about to make your to increase survivability and to make your unit more tanky, and to make it more defensive. A lot of that is just like built into Space Marines. Like, a lot of it is built into majority of it is built into like standard 30k. Like, if you've got a 3-up save, your T4, anything better than that, your T5, you start getting excited when you get 2 Rune Terminators, and then you start strapping on all the extras that start to add up like lots and lots of points really rapidly. That's why things like people like Fire Drakes and other equivalent core Death Star units get people really juicy, because they take that up to a ridiculous level. What these guys do for a very, very cheap base points cost is give you something that have all got, again, at a base, they've all got power swords, but with rending. So you're going to be locked in combat, really tough. I mean, I can't actually, I'm just going to, my head hurts so much from being sick, but think about a longish combat without, against something that hasn't got across the board AP2. I don't think this unit would actually die for a full game.
So
like, I don't think it would die. Like you just sit there the whole game.
My suzerain that are swinging at AP2 all the time. Then
how much is a squad of 5 suzerain?
About 200 points.
This is where we phone up Forge World.
But that's 195 for 3. So I've got 5 of them with a 2 up, 5 up, and an AP2 at initiative all the time, and any 6 to hit is an instant wound.
Right.
So that's why I'm not sold on it, because there is AP2 at initiative weapons. You know, that's why. You know what I mean? I'm not saying
very limited. There's very, very limited. Honestly, I think you're massively.
But then they're going to have the shield, aren't they? They're going to have the.
By suzerains, we're massively jaded, like by them. Honestly, suzerains are like bonkers broken and cheap for what they do, and they're very, and they're niche in a way at what they do as well. Because so the reason we keep comparing these more to Fire Drakes is that they're not insanely killy, but at a base, for the baseline of what Heresy is, for the baseline of Marines, they're very killy. Like just across the board, AP3 is very killy. Like if you think about every other model in the game, like just in your head, just think about your entire any list you've ever taken. Your standard assault list, how much AP3 you have. You have to go to a specialist killer unit, and you obviously immediately jump into suzerains, which makes them AP2. Complete access to AP2 across a unit is incredibly rare.
But then look at it. Look at it this way. Are you going to run your 195 point Custodes elite squad into attack marine squad? No, you're going to use them to counter the other bigger salty squad. So you're going to be turning into things like Terminators. You're going to be turning into things like Suzerain. That's what you're going to use them on the battlefield for. So you're going to, as I say, I mean, AP3 is going to be. I've had this in combat come up so many times. People go, "I got a power sword." I'm like, "Great, I'm 2 up armor." You know, even if you run into my attack squad, well, I'm going to stick my I'll stick my sergeant up front, and I'll start taking the 3 up save. I'll take the 3 ups on him first, the ones that aren't rending. So, you know, I'll pick the saves first. I'll cancel off as many 3 up saves as I can on my 2 up armor before your rendings go into me. So, rending is good, and I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying compared to the Guardian Spear, I don't think it's. I'm not sold on the Warblade. I think the stuff you're going to use your squad against. It's not. They're going to be good. They're strong, and they're strength 5, tough 5. You know, it's good, but I just don't think it's that good.
Okay, so again, what is the other thing that they have with the sword? What does the sword is specifically? Okay, why do they have a sword and not a spear?
Well, it's melee rending. That's all it's going to. The only rule it's got is rending. That makes
why? Sorry, I'm not being awkward. I'm being a bit of a dick. But like they have a one-handed weapon because in the other hand they have a shield.
Yeah.
So again, this is more why I really didn't want to get into comparing them to suzerains. Okay, firstly, if we actually
their run's better, so they're going to last longer. So after that first round of combat, you might have a couple of less suzerain, and that's where you're going to start making the difference. But then my
again, I know I keep coming back to suzerain, but this is the stick I've got that I've got to compare them up against. Is well, I'm coming in with a 5-man squad. If I get the charge, it's 15 attacks. If I don't, it's 10. So I'm putting. You know, I'm weapon skill 5 as well, so I'm still hitting you on 4s. Any 6s are also wounding. I'm wounding you on 4s. I'm going to make 5 or 6. I'm going to make 5 or 6 wounds that you're going to have to take 3 ups on. So I'm still putting volume of attacks back into you. You know, you'll get. Yeah, I'm going to lose suzerain. I'm going to take an absolute pasting from these guys.
Whoa,
but
what did you say? We're gonna have to take what up on?
I'm going to take 5 up invuns on them, but I usually make from my suzerain squad 5 or 6 attacks wound that you're going to need.
Firstly, you won't get as many attacks as you think because they've got defensive grenades.
Well, I've got 2 attacks base anyway.
Yeah.
So a minimum with the 5 guys, I'm putting 10 attacks onto you.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. 6s to hit automatically wound. So I'm going to pick up 1 or 2 that I don't need to roll the wound for, and then I'm going to be wounding you on 4s. So I'm probably going to still make 2 or 3 wounds. So I'm going to put 4, 5, 6 wounds onto you.
Okay.
They have a high conversion
AP2
rate.
against the rerollable 4-up.
Rerollable 4-up, yeah. So you're still going to fail, Sam. So I'm going to put wounds back on you pretty quickly. Then generally you're going to be coming back.
You got to remember, a rerollable 4-up is it the same as a 2+?
I was going to say, I think it's the same as a 2+.
I'm pretty sure it's ever so. I actually think it's ever so slightly worse, but it's basically, I think, for all intents and purposes, a 2+.
So you're going to be punching me back.
Basically 2. Yeah.
Okay, great. I've put a couple of wounds on you. You're going to punch me back.
Are they weapon skill 5 as well? Yeah.
Yeah, they're weapon skill 5 as well.
Yeah, I mean, so ultimately, but again, just to make the point, and without shadow of doubt, nobody at Forge World is listening to this travesty of a fucking show. But if they were, they need to fucking increase the points of suzerains or change them.
But that's the thing, you're going to punch me. You're going to punch me back then.
That said, it's still a lot closer than you think.
Yeah.
This is actually probably how suzerain should have been built.
But
this has got a lot of skill going into these guys in game design. These are a really well balanced unit, and actually, I think a 3-man versus a 5-man. I haven't done the math, because I've been fucking ill.
The crux of my argument is to push back though. So you're going to hit me back, yeah? Mm-hmm. You're going to hit me back. So you're going to throw two or three attacks each back at me. Mm-hmm. No, because you're specialist, so you don't get 2. You don't get 2 attacks for 2 weapons. So yeah, 3 attacks each. So you're going to throw 9 attacks back at me. Yeah, you're going to get a couple of rends. So you're going to make 4 or 5 hits wound, and then you probably get 1 or 2 rends out of that. So I've got maybe 2 wounds to take on a rend. So 5 up invuln, and then a 5 up feel no pain with my apothecary, and then the rest I'm going to take on 2 up armor saves. And I tell you, from putting them on the table, you might take 1 of my suzerain out with that. Whereas I'm probably going to put 3 or 4 wounds on you, 2 or 3 wounds on you, and then there's a chance for me to sweep you. So I think it would be close, but this is what's not selling me. I'd have thought that big sword and that shield would be more powerful.
I honestly don't think you'd kill as many as you think you'd kill. A 2 up is, I say, a 4 up rerollable invuln being equivalent to a 2 up. You're gonna save. I'm gonna
get my 2 up and my 5 up invuln and a feel no pain generally in that squad. And those are the sorts of units you're going to be going after, is Death Stars with feel no pains and invulns, and I'm looking at a crap invuln. A 5 up invuln is not great.
Okay. So now you're saying that we need to compare what we've got. You're now comparing the blank unit with a unit that has feel no pain and has other buffs. We can't.
But this is the thing. I'm talking about the context of what you're going to be taking that unit into. If we can analyse everything in a vacuum. We have to assume
that the custos have feel no pain as well, then.
Well, they don't, because you can't get it for them.
Well, we don't know that. Do you not see what I'm saying?
But I'm talking about the context of what you could face. If you put your models on the table tomorrow, what are you going to face? What are you going to face? So, because we could sit here and wish list, what they're going to get and that. And there might be a way of getting them feel no pain, and there might be a way of doing these kind of things. But it at the moment, in the context we've got to analyse them in, this is what you're likely to come up against. I know if you put those guys down on the table, I know what I'd charge at you. My Spartan with my Death Stars coming at those guys. So they're going to have to fight.
I know what you're getting at, Tom. Obviously, you can't compare them anywhere other than the rules that are out at the moment. Yeah. But we're probably going to have these rules for 2 months. And I think, we don't want to wish list. We can't fully critique the rules that are put out there based just on what they are. We have to realise that this is going to be a list in itself, and there's going to be some other buffs and things, and I definitely don't think they should have been any stronger.
So this
if
is
anything,
this is one of the
we're comparing against the one sort of unit that's probably out of the curve, so it's probably not the best way of comparing it. But
this is what I wanted to say is, as I mentioned earlier, this is massively jaded because it is one of, if not the most broken and widely accepted broken units in the game, like massively so, that it's kind of it's worth having a chat about, but it's on the same kind of page as almost as some of the other shit I've seen, like people saying, oh, these guys can't kill dreadnoughts, or oh, they die to Primarchs, or this kind of stupid shit. It's like
though, you're not going to take your suzerain, you're not going to run these guys into a dreadnought. I mean, I'm totally with you on that. There's no point comparing against dreadnoughts.
Why not? I'd use these as a tar pit dreadnought.
Oh, I wouldn't want to use it. I'd use a tac squad to tar pit a dreadnought.
If you,
a tac squad in.
Fucking a Leviathan would like destroy a tac squad in.
In a turn, but it's just over there then, and it's not doing stuff to the rest of my army.
These guys would probably sit there and tank a Leviathan for most of the game.
Well, a Leviathan, what's that? 13 or 14 at the front. 13?
I'm not talking about hurting it. I'm just talking about standing there and laughing at it for the fucking whole game.
Three of those guys, a Leviathan would kill them in one turn.
What? No, they wouldn't.
Yeah, they would. Strength 10, AP 1 claw on it.
Right. How many attacks has it got?
It's got 4 attacks base if you've got the 2 weapons on it. 5 if you charge into it, so that's 5 attacks. They're not fearless.
If you've got 2 weapons on it, you mean if it's got 2 close combat weapons?
If it's got 2 close combat weapons, it's 4.
Do you see Leviathan dreadnoughts with double close combat weapons?
Yes, you do. You do see them if that's what you're doing with them. But yeah, okay, so 3 attacks.
Does he have Feel No Pain as well?
No, but he's got a 4 up in
this is the kind of ridiculous conversations. Has he got a nuclear laser coming out of his ass? Like, this is how ridiculous it is.
The point is we're getting into conjecture about what kind of list they're going to be in, and if we take them at the moment, there's going to be a whole.
We're talking about a standard.
How many different kinds? What is a standard? And the other thing we're talking about as well is that most of the time you play these guys, unless you're playing at your club, they're not going to come up against suzerains in an event, because most events are split loyalists and traitors, so you're not going to see them against. Yeah, I think we're probably going too deep into their rules at the moment without seeing the rest of their potential list. All the points are valid, but I think we're just getting extremely deep into something that's not even been played on the table yet, probably, or maybe someone has somewhere. But I mean, stat-wise, they compare better. They don't really compare to any of the, apart from suzerain maybe, but I don't think they compare to any of the units, do they? We talked about fire drakes, and then compared to any of the specialist Terminator units. Stat-wise, they compare closer to a Centurion.
Yeah, I mean, so
that's scary, but points-wise,
I was wishlisting. Yeah, and again, that just shows how
fucking they got higher strength and toughness than a Praetor.
It shows you how undercosted the suzerains are again. But yeah, that's I freely admit that I was wrong, and I honestly expected Thorgewell to set up the custodes around Praetor level. Like I was saying, I thought they were going to be like Praetors, and they were going to balance them with a very, very high points cost. And they were going to be more like a bodyguard unit. So you might take them along with like Russ. So maybe you'd have like a bodyguard unit that you could fit into games, and it was going to be very, very niche. And I'd obviously forgotten that people had already said from some of the open days that it was going to be a full army list. So I hadn't taken that into account in the back of my mind, that you need them to be more balanced as a wider spread army with access to different unit types. But they've definitely gone more with like the Grey Knights route, which I know I was trying to say that with other comparisons last show, that maybe that's what they're going to do with like Thousand Sons and whatever. But they've definitely gone that route of they've built the standard troops choice and the kind of standard stat line for the units as very, very elite units, but also for a very cheap points cost in comparison to other armies. So we have to start looking at them in like a totally new light. They're going to be a very elite force that is going to be able to take in as an army in their own right, We know already because of the new tank, which we'll talk about a bit in a minute. We don't have stats for it, but the hover tank that's been released, that we're going to see hopefully a full range of vehicles. In the release they mentioned the first of. I can't know if they said the first of the tanks or the first of the vehicles, but Forge World said the first of the Custodes tanks. And it looks like an offensive tank. It looks a bit like a Sakaran or equivalent. So again, if we're looking at just that standard troops choice, or even the standard stat line of an elite unit being at that kind of points cost and that kind of stat line of Centurion plus in places with some interesting war gear, they're going to be incredibly powerful. They're going to be really, really strong.
I suppose we don't know how they might balance some of that out in gameplay via the rules for the army. So whether they're going to have restrictions. So we see the sort of right of war type restrictions on legions. Are we going to see some really, really tough restrictions on victory point scoring, where they can't lose more than a third of their units, or lots of, I'm guessing here, but stuff that really makes it hard for you to score the VPs that you need to win a scenario, whereas it might be tough against unit versus unit, but maybe there's going to be some stuff that makes it really restrictive.
True, but on the flip side, we don't have the rights of war either, and we don't have the
we don't have any of that
Legion Custodes rules. Like that's going to be the main chunk of it. No. The Legion Custodes rule might be that we're on about fear. It might be something stupid like they're all fearless. I mean, also it might be something.
That's what I'm getting at. We don't know how that is going to either overpower them even more or balance it off. And so far it's been fairly balanced. I mean, you could argue Mechanicum at base level is a little bit more powerful than the other lists and things, but so far they're not ridiculously skewed. The different, especially the legions, they're fairly balanced. I know people would disagree with some of that, but compared to 40k, they're not super far off. So we've got to give them a little bit of trust and see what they actually come out with, and it'll be really interesting to see when we get Book 7 how they've actually gone about making it a balanced force. It talks about it being a list, but maybe it's a list you're only allowed to take as allies as well. Maybe there's it might not be a list you can take as a primary detachment. It might only be it's a list, but you can only take it as an allied detachment, which restricts the amount of numbers you have. Who knows what they're going to do with it? But if you just look at the units and think, oh my god, they're troops and they're quite cheap, and how many could you fit into a 2,500 point army? Then it seems ridiculous. But I imagine there's going to be a lot more to it that kind of balances
I totally agree. But that's why I'm not. That's why on the other extreme, I wasn't getting too worried about what Tom was going on about adding in, take unit X and add in this and this. Or just say if you're going to compare them, just compare them blank like for like with something else for roughly the equivalent points, and just see where you get to.
Yeah.
And yes, okay, they're not going to go around smashing. They're not going to go around smashing fucking dreadnoughts, but neither are a tooled up tax squad. So if you're talking about a troops choice, let's look at 195 points, a troops choice, and I like just compare those. Comparing them to, it's so fucking annoying that suzerains exist. If you just delete them,
that does skew it, doesn't it? Because everything else you compare with, they are much better. It's
by far it's annoying as fuck. But but any other comparisons, Tom? Like, have you got any other units in your army that are not?
All of them. If they're blue, they smash you in the face.
I'm trying to think about what fifths, but you've got horrible shit, so it's kind of
there's no.
You've got like really bad stuff or really stuff.
They're gonna. The problem is like you said, the best way to compare them is to compare them in a vacuum. That to get a true one-on-one unit, you've got to compare them in a vacuum. This X unit against X unit. The reality is on the battlefield is you're not going to get X unit versus X unit. You're going to have other factors, like we mentioned about transport. I mean, their biggest weakness at the moment is the fact they're on the foot. Yes, we know they're going to get a transport, but actually initially, which is actually where I think these guys are going to be the biggest dickholes, is in Zone Mortalis. These guys in the Zone Mortalis force are going to fuck with people in a big way, because suddenly you remove that kind of, they're out in an open battlefield and they can be blasted before you get to them. Fucking hell, custodians in Zone Mortalis are going to be brutal as they are now. But it's hard because, like, I know what you're trying to do, Nick. You're talking about sort of pure math, looking at numbers against numbers, and I'm looking at it more from a, well, this is what's going to happen on the battlefield kind of thing. This is what.
Well, you can do both, but we can't at the moment
to deal with them. But yeah, that's the thing, we can't. It's hard.
All we can do at the moment is compare it just the base stats, base points to an equivalent unit, and just roughly.
But it's
say what they can do.
Unfortunately, that math has to balance out across a whole army, doesn't it? And how the benefits of, and until we know what their army list makeup or restrictions are going to be, it's going to be really hard to review those stat lines in a context. But I think we've covered it the best we can. I think, if we go back to Fluff, I think Fluff-wise, their stats and the way the units work is pretty good. In the mini kind of meta of where they fit in with the game, just as they are with these rules out of a White Dwarf, they're really fucking cheap, but we won't really know how reflective that is until we see the rest of the army list and how they fit into the game as a whole once Book 7's out.
Yeah, I think on that rather nice rounded sum up there.
Keep talking. I'm using the calculator. Keep talking.
I think that's probably a nice place to draw a line under suzerain fucking custos. So face it, don't fucking bother with anything. Throw all your models in a blender and just go out and buy some Ultramarines because they're the best. So screw everybody. I think we'll probably draw a line under that, guys. We'll stop and have a rest, and we'll come back and see you in a little bit. Hiya then, guys. We're back from that little break, and we're going to head into one of our sections then. So me and Stu, as you know, are quite keen painters. Stu obviously runs Miniature Realms. I'm a keen amateur. I slop unthinned paint all over my models and, generally don't thin my paints. So we thought we'd have a little chat about Golden Demon prep. Me and Stu were thinking about maybe doing one next time. And basically, we were talking through this and realised neither of us have really got a clue where to start. So we did what all good people should do, and we found somebody who actually knows what they're talking about. So we got Sam Perkins with us for a little bit. He's got his painting studio, SJP Painting. You might have seen them kicking around. Pretty awesome painter. So we're going to have a chat. We're going to talk about competition painting and that kind of side of the hobby. So, welcome, Sam. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. Glad you can come and join us. So do you want to give yourself a little introduction, introduce us to you, your life in the hobby, and, a bit about your painting and what you've been up to?
Yeah, certainly. So, as you've just said, I am a commission painter and miniature blogger for SJP Painting. You may see some of my stuff via Facebook and on Instagram. I'm also an admin for a gaming club called Smells Like Heresy. We're based in the southwest of the UK. A bit about myself. I mean, I've been doing sort of 30k probably since when it first started. Blimey, what? 3 years ago now? 4 years ago?
Yeah, it is. It's flying by now.
Flown by. Before that, blimey, I've probably been doing the hobby at least sort of 12 odd years, probably since the time I was a prepubescent, nerdy little kid. The painting aspect of it has been certainly the thing that's interested me the most. But as just like most hobbyists, I've got a little weak spot for the dabble in the gaming side to it as well. But yeah, that's a bit about my hobby background.
Awesome. And I'm gonna admit to my claim to fame is that we were both MKAers now, aren't we? You've been a while.
Yes.
I joined it last year, so you did flyers the other couple of weeks ago, didn't you?
Yeah, literally. I think 2 weeks ago. I think it was.
Yeah. And so you did the latest fly course, and was it lightning you did?
Yeah, I decided to do. Well, I'll be honest with you, I couldn't really decide what I wanted to do at all originally. I've got a bit of a stockpile of like unbuilt models that I've wanted to paint for ages. In that, I've got a couple of lightnings, I think a Xiphon. So in the end, I decided to, I'm going to choose a lightning. They're pretty good in game. I mean, they look awesome. But the actual decision was basically what army I wanted to do for it. So in the end, I chose something for my Sons of Horus. Went with the boring option.
It looks sick. There's definitely, I think you've flung some pictures up on your Facebook page and stuff, haven't you?
Yeah, I've put a few pictures up on there. Really, really good fun to paint.
Yeah, so guys, go and check out, what the MKA guys have been doing. I think, have we put any pictures up on the public pages of the fly course yet?
Not that I'm aware of.
No,
I think they had a few issues getting those pictures up, but I'd imagine everybody should see them soon.
If you search for the hashtag MKA painting, I know on Instagram especially, there's been a fair few pictures kicking around in there. You can sort of see that, and obviously go and check out Sam's pages, and you'll see his, so you can see what the MKA boys have been up to. So, yeah, thanks for the introduction. I mean, what's the main reason that you decided you want to get into competition painting, and what attracts you to Golden Deez?
Well, that's a pretty decent question. I mean, to me, growing up with the hobby from a very, very young age, seeing, Golden Demon entrants and Golden Demon winners work in things like White Dwarf, growing up with that sort of background, in the background of the hobby. As a painter especially, I've always really, really wanted to sort of get to a level where I can think, blimey, those people I was sort of looking up to as a kid. I know it sounds really cliche, but blimey, I'd really like to be able to get my miniatures looking as good as that. I'd love to have even just one Golden Demon under my belt. I think to me, that would maybe, reaching my end goal was, having, some Golden Demons or even one Golden Demon or whatever under my belt. And what better way to do that than, taking the plunge and actually entering.
Absolutely. I mean, I've been gaming for a very, very long time. I'm edging towards 40 now, and I started gaming in the 90s, and I remember looking through many, many White Dwarfs, looking at Golden Demon entries and thinking how unachievable they are, and the amount they've moved on in the last sort of 20 or so years as well. It makes it, if you saw the stuff that people are producing now back then, appreciate it's different tools are available now, but it's quite scary what people could do. How long have you been painting? How long have you sort of been really into that side? Is that a recent kind of, you went on an MKA course and then really pushed on, or have you been a really into painting for longer?
The painting side of it, I've been in, well, yeah, like I said, probably since when I started. I've never, the actual sort of the serious side to painting and the competition side to it, I've only really sort of taken seriously, literally probably the last year or so. Just through practicing alone and just painting my own models for gaming, has sort of taught me loads of like new techniques and things. And through MKA, meeting people like Andy Wardle, Henry Steele, even Matt Kane himself. Being able to sort of speak to those guys, sort of get feedback, and really sort of compare, my quality of painting to those guys. Not only is it an inspiration for me, but it also sort of allows me to sort of gauge like where, what sort of level I see my own painting at, and that almost in a way inspires me to enter these competitions more. I mean, I've not actually won a Golden Demon yet. I've finalised once, but that hunger is still there, and those guys are always really, really good for getting advice from, and that only makes me want to enter more, to be honest.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, Tom talks so passionately about the MK. Of course, it's not something I've done. It's more to do with time than anything else.
Mhm.
I'm a stay-at-home dad at the moment. I stopped work about 18 months ago now to be a stay-at-home dad and a part-time commission painter. So spending that money and taking that time away is not really possible with the wife at the moment. That's kind of defeats the object of me being at home looking after the little one. But I'd love to do it because I know it's skills that I'm obviously learning at a lot slower rate, trying to work it out by myself,
Mhm.
and see how passionate Tom's been. Now, I've seen Tom's painting prior to MKA. It was fine, but it was, and Tom would probably agree, it was good, decent table gaming standard stuff. But the course has just really pushed him on. And I said to him a few months back, I reckon you're going to have the passion for it now. And I don't know if he's denying it anymore, but I think he'll just keep pushing and pushing now. Because once you get to that stage where you actually want to really push your limits and produce some stunning stuff, I think you get the kind of real passion for it. And for me, it's the most important part of the hobby. If I only gamed once every 2 months, I'd be happy as long as I've still got toy soldiers to paint. So I mean, I've not done apart from one competition, which was non-GW stuff. It was at a big convention. Well, I say big convention. It's a medium-sized convention called SmogCon, which was a War Machine and Halls convention, but they also had Malifaux and stuff that year, and I entered a couple of pieces and got a couple of silvers.
Mhm.
But it's an incredibly different style of painting to GW. So P3 style painting and Malifaux style painting. There's a different emphasis on not so much kind of clean, fresh, and edge highlighting and things like that. So I was always not put off in terms of didn't like it, but I was always sort of didn't really kind of feel I wanted to paint in the GW way. But for me, the Heresy sort of slightly more realistic side of things really appeals, and you get a bit of a, I don't know, it's a bit more of a happy medium for the way I like to paint. But talking to Tom about what we wanted to do next year, and we hope to get weekender tickets if we can swing it and get the time off when we need to.
Mhm.
I've got a wedding anniversary in February, which might make it go wrong. But if we can get tickets, I think we both want to enter something into the weekender. And we've always got Warhammer Fest as a bit of a fallback because it's easy to, you're not going to not get a ticket for that. It's easy to turn up and do something on a Sunday. But then I was thinking, well, I don't actually know what to do and what the guidelines are. I mean, you can look at all of the categories and you can sort of see what people are doing, but I really wanted to speak to someone that's done it before and find out what their experiences were. So what are your experiences of your first sort of attempt last year, and how did you plan it, and what talk us through where you started your planning, and tell us about the end as well, I suppose.
Okay, yeah, sure. Well, if I'm brutally honest with you, I really did not know what to expect. I'd never entered the Golden Demon before. I didn't really know anybody that had entered the Golden Demon. In the painting side of things. I also didn't really think or know whether I was good enough to enter. And that is something that I think often puts off a lot of painters. I've got friends that have said, I don't know whether to enter Golden Demon. I don't know if I really don't think I'm good enough. They see pictures of the stuff I was talking about, for example, in White Dwarf, and they compare it with their own work. And I think self-criticism is the worst thing, and that's something that I really, really suffered from before entering. But I thought, what, to hell with it. I'm going to sort of throw something together and, just see what it's like, basically. So for that Golden Demon, I really didn't give myself a lot of time to prepare anything. But in the end, I painted up a Sons of Horus Javelin. It was probably within the space of about 4 days or so before the event. It was really good, like seeing a lot of the fantastic miniatures in person. I really don't think that the photos often do the models justice. They look a lot better in person. Going back to what I said about my entry, I don't think I basically gave myself enough time to prepare for the event. And in doing so, as a painter, I thought I'd get away with, taking shortcuts, leaving the odd highlight off here and there. And with the Javelin being sort of on a raised sort of base with the flying stand, the attention to detail that I was putting on the top, I thought, I can avoid doing that on the bottom because, I'll put it at a set angle. So in the cabinet, you won't notice that. but blimey, yeah, the judges will notice. You know,
They pick it up. Don't
yeah,
they?
absolutely. They will inspect every single inch or centimetre of the model that you're entering. I mean, obviously they're not going to go turning your tanks upside down to make sure that you've made it look as well. Maybe they will, actually. That's probably not a fair thing to say, but yeah, my advice is for anybody that's planning on entering the Golden Demon is don't make the mistakes I made. Take time to prepare for it. Give yourself a realistic time scale about what you want to enter, how long it's going to take you, and take your time with it. Work slowly and make the model as perfect as you possibly can. And when I say that, get rid of every mold line. They often can make or break, a Golden Demon entry.
I was looking at the photo. I was just going to say, mold lines everywhere. That's clearly why you didn't.
Well, which one's that now?
I've just sent him in our little chat. I've just forwarded the picture of the of your entry because I don't know whether Nick would have seen it or not. I follow you on Instagram.
Okay.
And I think Tom does as well, but I don't know if he'd have seen it or not.
No, it's the first time seeing it.
So I think he's just been funny. It's awful.
So you
awesome.
said about preparation and lead time and
Yeah.
all that kind of thing. Is there anything beyond just giving yourself more time? Are you talking about aside from taking shortcuts? Was there things you felt that you didn't like? Did you not research things properly? Did you not test color palettes? Like what do you mean by not kind of having that preparation?
In terms of time to prepare, I mean, yeah. One of the things, first and foremost, is basically don't, before you even apply any paint to the model, sort of really think about the type of model you want to enter, how you want it to look, the color schemes and the color theory behind the model itself. Now that might sound really technical to somebody who's not that way inclined in terms of painting. I mean, I'll be honest with you, I wasn't at that time. I was working on a Sons of Horus Armors for 30k. I wanted something in my army that looked really cool. And I thought, I'll do a javelin. And I had this idea that I'd, have it firing rockets and I'd put it on Predator Robo's base for some unknown reason, a 75-point model on a 70-pound Primarch base. But, yeah.
That's commitment. I like that.
Yeah. I thought, well, nobody else is going to do that. I don't think anybody's going to be crazy enough. But no, I'm totally wrong.
I mean, that is one thing to think about, if you can't, if you want to stand out, especially with the level of painting that it is now generally across the country, is what is the unique point of my model? You obviously got a nice unique point there with the firing missiles and the base. It gives it that thing that says, I'm a bit different to everybody else.
Yeah. You want something that is going to stand out in the cabinet. You're going to want to create something that judges haven't necessarily seen before. And I think you can do that in numerous different ways. I mean, first and foremost is the type of paint style that you choose to use. Most painters most Games Workshop hobbyists will be familiar with the two different types of paint styles that you see within our hobby. You've got the very clean, heavy metal style paint style with really fine edge highlights, bright colors, that sort of stuff. And then you've got the
40k look.
Yeah. That's what you'd associate the 40k look, Age of Sigmar now as well. Almost cartoony in a way. And you've got the other side to it, which is sort of more traditional Forge World, where you've got the more realistic, nitty gritty, sort of grim, dark, dirty paint style. But again, you're not isolated to those two. If you can come up with something that's unique to yourself, or you've seen something online that is slightly different, again, another game type that I think has got a completely different paint style is something like Infinity.
I was just going to say, before you said that, there's a lot of elements to this that I would associate more with something like Infinity. The way you've got, so you said about having bringing something unique to draw the attention, for example. I was looking at the the missiles. And I don't necessarily think it's the missiles themselves. Obviously, that's a modelling aspect. They're painted really well. But I don't think it's the missiles themselves that make it work. I think it's the OSL. I don't know if I'm using the right terms. I'd call it the OSL, the heat reflecting off of the hull from the missile flying past. Like that gives it like an armor sheen. Even though it's coloured in the army's colours, you can see that it's like ceramite, or it's got that kind of reflective surface in the armor, and that gives the whole thing atmosphere and depth that you don't necessarily normally see. Even if you had a little bit of heat bloom or a little bit of OSL, that is like a massive part of the model from this angle on the photo.
Yeah, so that was basically again, with stuff like that, you want to give the model almost like a focal point. You want to basically create areas on the model of you're entering that will basically capture the eye. Will create interest. Will draw, the people who are passing by the cabinet. Will draw them in, sort of catch their attention, and not just those. I mean, the judges themselves. Most importantly, you're entering a competition. You want to be able to sort of captivate the judges' interest. On every aspect of the model. I mean, on infantry, most of the time, it's it's usually the face. I find anyway. Some painters may disagree with me, but again, you can do that on vehicles. And on mine, one of the things I've tried to do is try to create a little aspect of realism. With the fire and missiles, the glowing effect on the hull, like you've just described, as though the javelin itself has been almost captured in as like a freeze frame as such. If that was actually sort of flying or skimming across the ground, saying it was firing his missiles, and somebody had just like sort of quickly taken a picture, that was like the sort of thing that I was trying to create.
It gives it real movement rather than just being on a flight stand. And it makes that's the point I look at. And Nick was right. You could see the way Nick questioned it was actually what's drawn his eye. Whereas without that, you might be drawn to the pilot and the gunner. Yeah. But with that, I'm drawn straight to the light reflection there on the side. It looks fantastic. Is it okay if we put this picture up on our Facebook page?
Yeah, absolutely.
When we publish the show, obviously people can find this picture on your Instagram or on your Facebook anyway. But so people can actually look at what we're talking, because obviously painting isn't the best audio subject sometimes. But if people can follow along at home and look at this picture while we're talking, it's probably make the conversation a lot more interesting for them to listen to. But yeah, sorry, I was interrupting you a little bit.
No, that's fine. Honestly, crack on. I mean, everybody's welcome to take a look at it. I mean, that angle there is the one that I sort of spent the most time on in the photo. I mean, that was how it was positioned in the cabinet. And obviously, if you look at it, the actual sort of land speeder is banking slightly. And going back to one of my points earlier about me not taking the time to make sure every part of the model was perfect. On the other side, on the underneath, for example, I didn't spend as much time as maybe I should have done. I think there's the odd mold line. I just didn't highlight it as much.
You seem quite certain about that. Was that like, did you have little quiet feedback on the side from the judges, or is that something you?
No. If I'm honest, no. I knew that it wasn't. I knew that the whole model wasn't up to the same standard from every single angle, and I thought, because I'd never entered a Golden Demon before. I've entered sort of smaller painting competitions. I thought, the judges are just going to look at it in the cabinet. They're going to judge it on what they can see, and make their assessment from there. But when I say they inspect the model, they really do. They'll take it out of the cabinet. All 3 or 4 of them will sit down in front of a desk, and they'll each sort of take it in turns, turning the model over in their hands, sort of, really admiring what you've done with it. But they don't leave any stone unturned. And for example, on the bottom of mine, like I said, it just wasn't painted to the same standard as the same side that you can see in the photo. And in a painting competition of such prestige, you can't make mistakes like that, or you can't take chances like that. I think, Dave. Well, that's something that I've learned obviously since then. But no, going on what you said then, having a sort of quiet word in my ear about it afterwards. One of the other good things about Golden Demon is that you're there with some of the best painters, not only in the country but in the world. You can get constant feedback off those guys. I mean, don't be afraid to go up to them, say hello, introduce yourself, and ask for some feedback. There's not one painter that I know of that won't sort of, actually offer to give you some feedback and give you some tips for the future. I mean, I went into the Golden Demon as a really sort of naive painter. Like I said, I wasn't sure whether I was good enough. I didn't know what to expect, is my honest answer. But I came away with far more advice and feedback that has since then allowed me to sort of improve on my own painting and then my competition entries going forward.
So, sorry to go back a little bit, but you mentioned, or you were starting to go on to talk about that, what you considered a third style of painting, maybe, and I cut you off and got obsessed and started drooling over the flame effects. But so you were talking about Infinity, and yeah, when I first saw it, I think it was maybe the bronzy kind of power coils of like the engine or the grav motor, whatever it is at the back. I saw that, and also some of the, I don't know what it is, that it's hard to describe for me as a someone who doesn't really get into the painting that much, but the silver as well of some of the hull and the contrast between like the red of the top knot and the white and green of the armor, like something about that kind of stands out to me as like that Infinity style painting. But I don't know, like what's is it
Angel Giraldo's.
Yeah, his books. I love his books. I love his like style. It's amazing. But yeah, what is it? What's that kind of third style? Like what categorizes that?
I mean, I wasn't trying to go. I wasn't trying to go for an Infinity sort of style of painting with the land speeder. With that, I was sort of more so trying to blend both the heavy metal sort of clean style of painting with the realistic Forge World style of painting. By having sort of the fire and missiles and the weathering being a bit more Forge World-esque than the normal Games Workshop stuff, but then still having the cleaner highlights. But in terms of the Infinity style of painting, to me, that is quite not anime-esque. It's probably the wrong way to describe it, but that style of painting has certainly got its own sort of signature. I'm overusing the word style, but style.
It's very stylized. It's very. It reminds me of like cell
and
shading.
it is anime-esque, I think.
Yeah, it's anime. It's cyberpunk. It's pop.
The artwork for the game is very anime,
Yeah.
but the models, the sculpts themselves are it's quite odd. They're quite different. They're very true scale, very, very small parts, and it tends to kind of make you think you could paint them ultra realistic because they've not got the enhanced features that you'd see in a sort of cartoon aspect, but the painting style seems to follow the artwork as well. So you do get lots of bright colours, but then they will paint in the detail and paint in the weathering, whereas a basic GW heavy metal, say 40k, because I think it's a bit different to AOS now, but 40k is almost flat panel color with edge highlighting, whereas you'll find there's a lot more blends, and then you've still got the crisp edge highlighting, but you got a lot more blends within the flat areas, a lot more sort of transitions in color and things, and I think you see that in the P3 style and in a lot of competition painting when they've not got anything to do with GW really. And I think you see that more. I think I see that more
definitely.
with a lot of the heresy kind of competition style painters. You're going up to that next level, that kind of painting good display level, and that's where you're blending and things, which you're not really taught to do in much of the heavy metal painting classes, are you? It's all much be neat, clean, fresh, edge highlight, bang, you're done.
Yeah.
Whereas you don't see blending talked about a lot. Hopefully you will in the future. I mean, the latest painting faces and latest White Dwarf is a lot more detailed than they normally are. It's talking about using glazes and adding different colours to faces, and I know Tom and I are going to do a little segment on that in a future episode, so I won't go on about it too much now, but it's nice to see them actually giving away some more of their tips rather than you paint this, and then Magic Stage 5 happens, and you realise that they've missed a few stages out. So it's always a little bit fake because they wanted you to use their paints, and that's not knocking them, but it's kind of, it felt like it's a bit more genuine in that last White Dwarf. So maybe we'll see a bit more of that. How did you choose your category? What was your, what made you just do the model you did? Is it just the model you liked, or did you plan? Well, you already said you didn't really plan, but let's pretend you did. But how did you choose?
Okay, well, I'll be honest. It was literally a case of me sort of looking through everything that I'd already built for my Sons of Horus, and finding something that wasn't painted. And I sort of picked out a few models that I hadn't painted. I mean, I can't remember exactly at the time what they were. I think I had like a Sons of Horus Reaver squad, and obviously would have gone into the infantry category. I think I had a Contemptor Dreadnought, something like that. And I sort of put all these out in a row on my desk, and I sort of thought about what I could do with each one to sort of try and make them unique. And I was sort of looking at my land speeder, and I thought, what could I do to make that stand out? And I sort of had a really like strange flashback from when I was a kid. And I remember going to Warhammer World for a doubles event with my local Games Workshop back when they used to do tournaments against sort of each other's stores. And I saw Nick's Ultramarine army from the events team in one of the cabinets. And on his Ultramarine land speeders, he's got things like firing missiles and things like that. And I thought, my God, yeah, that's without sounding like I'm copying the idea. I thought, that's really good. That would, make it stand out. Maybe I can paint something, to a competition level like that. And that's where the idea blossomed, really. And of all the ideas that I came up with for the other entrants, that one stood out to me the most. I hadn't seen, anybody do anything like that to enter it, into a Golden Demon. I've researched previous entries and previous winners, where object source lighting was used and things like that. And I thought, I'll try and do it on that. The Javelin's a really nice model. It's really interesting. You've got two pilots that you can, do different things with. And yeah, that basically made my decision for me, really.
I definitely think, it definitely stands out. It's what do you use? Unless it's a secret, fair enough. What do you use? It looks like that kind of like the bush, that sort of green modelling hedge you can get that's been trimmed back, but you probably told me it's something completely different.
It's pixie dust. It is. I can't take credit for the idea because I think a few people have done it, previously on their armies. But what I did, I got some brass rod and just covered it in like super glue. And then what I got was like railway lichen or lichen. I'm not 100% sure how you pronounce it.
Lichen.
It is lichen, yeah. So yeah, that sort of stuff that they use to as you said, to create bushes, trees, scenery, what have you. Yeah, just create scenery. And I sort of clumped that around the wire and let it dry, let it stick. And at this point, the actual sort of smoke trail and the flame trail is really quite thin. So what I did then was that I've mixed up like a really watery mix of like PVA glue. I just sort of slapped that all over the top, let it dry so it went nice and hard. And then basically just kept applying layers with super glue over the top until I got it to the thickness that I would have wanted. And then at the final stage, again, giving it a layer of that PVA glue, let it set so it was nice and hard, and then literally just sort of painted it over the top. However, it was really quite difficult to use because no matter how much sort of PVA glue I would use to sort of make it nice and easy to paint, it was still sort of like just flake off, and it was soaking the paint up. And even now, I mean, I've had the entry for almost 2 years or so, but the actual sort of lichen itself over time will fall off.
Right.
So yeah, if somebody can come up with a better way to sort of get it to stick, or even just a better way in general to create that effect, I'd love to know.
Well, it looks good from looked good on the day. I'm guessing you don't game with that piece.
I did game with that piece. It's probably one of the reasons why it's probably all come off, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, at least it's been used. It's nice that you sometimes when you do display stuff, it never sees use on the table. So that's quite cool. What was I going to ask you? You were talking about. I was going to ask you about things you do differently. I think you've already covered a lot of that when you're talking about the sort of taking a bit more care on the bits that aren't seen. But from talking to the other painters, was there any techniques or changes to your technique that you made based on sort of talking to them or feedback? Is there anything you thought, oh, I'm going to go away and learn how to do that better or refine that?
Yeah. So first of all, you'll notice I certainly noticed the differences between some of the techniques I was using on my own sort of piece and the other painters were using on theirs. Techniques that I hadn't seen before that obviously looked really, really effective. So I was always sort of keen to sort of stop them and ask have you managed to do that? What have you done to sort of make that part of the model look the way it does? And yeah, they've all been very, very helpful. They've sort of given me pointers as to sort of what the techniques they've used and the paints they've used as well. I mean, I was very sort of loyal to Games Workshop at the time. Most of the stuff I would use would be Citadel or the Forge World powders and things like that. But sort of coming away from the event with sort of a massive list of different brands of paint to test with and use, things like that, I think can benefit a painter tremendously. Getting advice, from guys that are a lot more experienced than you are, is only, going to help you and improve your painting even more.
Absolutely. Do you have a favourite paint range at the moment, or are you a complete mix across different ranges for different colours and things?
Yeah, I think it's quite strange. Certain paint ranges are good for certain colours. I'm a massive fan of like the Games Workshop reds. Ever since they released those air paints as well, I really, really like the Games Workshop reds. But I find myself using Vallejo paints most of the time these days. Their recent release for the Vallejo metal colours, like the airbrush paint, they come in quite large bottles as well. They are absolutely amazing. They are absolutely brilliant for any sort of type of metal colours you want to do. But they've got coppers and I think they've got a gold as well, actually. And they're really, really good. And I mean, for those of you guys who are listening that don't have airbrushes and things like that, with these paints, you can literally brush them on as well, and they come out just as good. I mean, they're really, really good for tank tracks and, well, any metal areas really on your models. Vallejo paints seem to be my go-to paint range at the moment.
Yeah, I'm
obsessed to play around with a bit of Vallejo.
I'm obsessed with highlighting everything with steel at the moment. The Vallejo Air steel, all silver highlights of Vallejo steel at the moment because it just pops so nicely. And I mean, I do that with the airbrush if I'm using it on big guns and things, and I use it through the brush. On Marines, like you said, Sam, it's brilliant on both things. You can definitely use them on both.
Absolutely. We've both been playing a bit with Scale 75 as well.
Oh yeah,
and they're really different. But I really like them. Part of it's down to the colour range, but they definitely work very, very differently if you've been used to GW. And I've used a lot of P3 and Coat d'Arms and things as well. So they're super different. They're super matte. You have to shake them like you wouldn't believe. So they need agitators, otherwise you just give up on them before you squirt the paint out. But they dry quite translucent. So when you put the paint on and you're building up a layer or you're trying to blend, you think that looks a bit harsh, but when it dries it seems to kind of naturally blend in afterwards.
Yeah, right.
And their gold set is amazing, isn't it, Tom? The golds are so rich and really bright, and they go through the airbrush really well as well. It's like they're nicely in sets as well. So there'll be I've got the black and white set, which is all the shades you need to sort of do good black and white shades, which is hard to paint. And there's a flesh set, and there's a leather set, so you get 8 paints in each, and it kind of gives you all the natural transitions you'd need without having to mix quite as much. But definitely like them, and I'm going to start picking up some Vallejo, and I'm going to be buying a bit more Vallejo from now on. And just because it's in dropper bottles already, it saves me transferring stuff over. Because
it's okay. You'll both have lots of custos to paint soon, so you can get your gold fix.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to using the Scale 75 golds on some custos. I think they'll look awesome.
There, absolutely. I'm looking. Well, I've already told Chip. He's the runner of our local store and our sponsor. Already told him I'll paint his when I do mine. So I'm definitely going to crack the gold out. That means my Solar Rocks are going to get pushed down the list again. I will get them built at some point. What else I was going to ask you? Talking about categories and things. So where did you find the information out about what categories are available? When how to enter, how to choose your category? What were the rules about those categories? Size of the piece, that kind of stuff.
Well, at first, I wasn't 100% sure what sort of categories that there would be. So I went typically off what they'd had at previous events. So you've got like single figure, you've got your infantry category, you've got your vehicle category, you've got your open category, and then I feel like I'm missing one out. Duel, yes, duel, and I think diorama's now going to open category as well.
Diorama, yeah.
Yeah, so initially I wasn't 100% sure about what was going to happen with that. But nowadays, during the announcement of the event, they'll usually sort of put a Golden Demon rules pack in that for people who want to enter. And thankfully, all of the categories that I've just described were present in that Golden Demon, which should usually give you plenty of time to prepare for the event.
Yeah, I'm at the stage now. I've got a loose idea for a couple of things, and even if I don't get to the Weekender, I can, as I said before, go to Warhammer Fest. But I'm at the stage now. I think I know what I want to do, and I want to start planning it. But I didn't know whether there was any rules around particular size of entry. Do you have to register anything beforehand, or you just turn up on the day with the?
No, you see, but there are going back to the rules of entry. So I've got to cover that. So with the single figure, I believe there's a size limit. I think it's up to 40 mil base that the single figure can be on. So you're looking sort of for 30k, anything about Terminator sized, even Primarch sized, technically, if you count the exclude the display base, but you can use in it, if you want to. Infantry, I think it's the same thing again. Anything up to sort of about 40 mil base wise, you're sort of looking at a Terminator unit or something like that. Vehicle, I think that covers literally everything, including walkers and dreadnoughts. And then you've got duel. Now, duel was a bit of a weird one because I think the rules for for duel has changed quite a lot. Demons, and that basically the rule for that is the rule determining what you can enter for that is the size of the base itself. Now, to my knowledge, I think the one that I went to, not the last Heresy Weekend, the one before, was a 50 mil base.
Right. Okay.
It's like a dreadnought base. What size is that? 60 mil? 60 mil. But I think that has fluctuated and changed pretty frequently, so I'm not 100% certain on that. So don't quote me on it. Please, for the love of God, do not start making Golden Demon entries based on the things that I am telling you. Do your research first and find out.
No.
I do not want angry messages.
I've got my 60 mil base out now. That's it. I'm set.
Just take some clippers with you, trim it down. If you'll be fine. I'm hoping that stuff's up there soon, actually, because I want to start planning and building it, even if I'm not painting it, so I can paint it slowly. So I have to fit it in between doing other people's stuff. I find it hard enough to paint my own stuff. So I want to be painting these things soon, probably for the next sort of 3 or 4 months, so I can just grab an hour here and there and chip away at it. Maybe when we're recording and stuff. Probably not when we're doing the main show, because we tend to drink too much for a painting. But when we're doing the interviews in the middle of the week like this one, we're all good and on cups of tea and stuff. At least I think we are.
But best advice I can give for anybody that's looking to enter an upcoming Golden Demon that hasn't had a rules pack or whatever that's been released yet is literally just go back, look at the most sort of recent Golden Demons that are sort of similar sort of thing, and there should be sort of that'll give you a rough idea of the things and the restrictions that are likely to be in it. Although Golden Demon has changed a lot in the last year. It's gone from, or 2 years I should say, it's gone from being a 1-year event or one event per year to what we've had 5, I think, in the last year.
Yeah, about
So okay, let's count it. You've got the Heresy Weekender, You've got they did a vehicle one or a tank one.
Yeah, they did that one-off one at an event, didn't they?
Yeah, they did a Space Marine one.
Yeah.
They did. Blimey.
Warhammer Fest, wasn't there?
There'll be a Warhammer one. I'm guessing there's one at the 40k one.
Yeah, there's one in November, the 40k one. I'm actually working on something for that at the moment.
Did they do Did they do a Xenos one?
I think this one is the one in November for the 40k Open Day is going to be the Xenos one. Yeah, it's the Enemies of the Imperium, I think it's called.
That's it. Yeah.
I think they did an Age of Sigmar one as well.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, the Sigmar Open Day.
Did they do one at Amsterdam as well?
Oh yeah, they did actually.
Yeah, it was only the Open Day that there was a painting competition, but it wasn't a demon, was it?
No, that was the Forge World Best of Show, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a show rather than a painting comp because that caused a little bit of chatter in some areas by the sounds of things. I won't go into I don't think it's that controversial, but I think there were painters there that probably spent more time on technique and got annoyed by lights and smoke and stuff, but I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
It's very much a rule of cool thing, wasn't it? It wasn't a bit like Armies on Parade, where it's go big or go home, really, because you got the general public voting on it kind of stuff. If you don't expect to see get your subtle blends graded, because no one's going to notice it.
Yeah, I felt sorry for a few painters in that event, I will be honest. I sort of was following their...
Yeah, I know, I do feel sorry for them.
And
I think it was just a lack of clarification on what exactly the competition was, wasn't it? I think there were Golden Demon painters turning up expecting a demon, and the judges were judging something different. You know, they weren't looking for demon, but that was just a little bit of confusion over to actually what was going on. But I mean, yeah, it was still cool. The Warlord that won it was cool. He'd done a lot of work to it, but yeah, maybe at a Golden Demon it might not have been the best one there.
Absolutely. I mean, it's no mean feat to paint a Warlord, and if anybody thinks it is, they should probably need sectioning. But even I was following actually the Warlord build as well.
Yeah.
And I've seen quite a few unboxing of Warlords on YouTube and what have you, and just the sort of sizes, the size of the resin chunks that comes with it. You know, unfortunately, I don't know the guy's name who made the Warlord, but the amount of hollowing out that you had to do to sort of insert those smoke machines in the exhausts and the LEDs in the head or something, it was a lot of work in of itself.
Oh, so, it was an engineering project as much.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It was, I mean, fair play, the guy cracked. I mean, just to build and just to wash and build a Warlord is a job in itself. You know, that's an impressive thing to do just to build the blooming thing, let alone to paint the whole thing as well. You know, so it is a hell of a thing he did. But like I said, I think it was a lack of clarification on that one. But yeah, we've had 5 or 6 demons this year.
Yeah, it's been quite a few. Whether or not I think that's
to see how that settles down.
I think there's probably a few painters, myself included, that would prefer less events, personally. But
one big demon in the year.
Elitist.
Maybe not one. No, maybe not one. But I think
I like the
5 or 6 is a bit excessive.
I kind of like the idea of a big demon at Warhammer Fest, like big open demon, and then maybe I like the idea of the one
for each system on their open days. Seems to make sense. But making it Xenos or something like that seems to be going a little bit too far.
Or they can have a painting competition, but it doesn't need to be like the Golden Demon.
If
they start watering it down, and you're like, oh, I've got a Golden Demon, and like, oh, I've got a Golden Demon. He's got a Golden. Everyone.
Yeah.
I think that's the worry for people, isn't it? That if there's so many a year, either it'll be dominated by a few people who'll win all of them, or we'll end up with, you know, everybody's got a Golden Demon.
Let's put it in. Let's put it up against a decent comparative real world example, right? You know. The Olympics, right? It should be every 4 years, and you should spend that time prepping and training. The government should sponsor you, and you put all that effort into it. The lottery money should go towards it, and then you get a gold medal, and nobody else can tell. You're not going to walk into somebody else in the street and be like, "I've got a fucking gold medal," and be like, "Oh, I've got one too, mate." Like,
so you don't want people that won the Commonwealth Games gold claiming that it's as big as an Olympic gold.
Exactly.
The other thing I think is they give away Slayer swords at every event.
Yeah.
You know, But
Yeah, I'd
back
rather
when,
that was a once a year thing.
back when, well, of Green
Not
and
that I'm
White
ever going to
Dwarf,
win it.
and you had like Slayer Sword winners, and you saw their entries, and they were just like mind blowing. These guys that were painting these models and winning Slayer Swords were just alien.
So how does it work now? Is it not still like one is just best in show or something? What's the Slayer Sword for?
So Slayer Sword. So basically, you have your, like, as we described earlier, you've got your different categories within the Golden Demon, and then the Slayer Sword winner basically is the person that enters the best miniature or
overall,
entry.
isn't it? Yeah.
Overall, best overall entry within the whole competition. In layman terms.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
good.
that'd be
The winner.
good if they kept that maybe just for the big one, wouldn't
Yeah.
it? And just did some categories at the smaller ones.
I mean, there's one in a
Oh,
Golden
well, I
Demon.
think we'll
and then
see
there's
anyway.
one in a Slayer Sword. The Slayer Sword is the one to win, I think.
Yeah, probably that should be up there. I suppose the danger is that dilutes, and then it's not up there with things like Crystal Brush, and you'd want that to be up there. That painters, no matter what they game, if they've ever gamed, that would target big awards like that. It's like winning the World Cup, or if that's your thing, you want the Slayer Sword to be that big.
Yeah, exactly.
I know there's prize money with things like Crystal Brush, but I think if they do too many, there is a danger that will be diluted, and they won't attract the kind of painters like the Jen Haleys and stuff anymore. They'll lose that, and it will be just people from the GW hobby that kind of go after those things more. It's all conjecture really. I'm making this up as I go along, but it feels like it could go that way. Which would be a shame.
I think there's bonuses of having several Golden Demons a year at the same time, though. I mean, my personal preference with was like what we said earlier. Having the much bigger Golden Demon. At Warhammer Fest, having then little ones then at sort of the separate open days. But again, with the current format and having sort of several a year for different things altogether, it encourages people that would sort of never usually consider entering a Golden Demon, sort of pick up their brushes and think, I'm going to give this one a go. I mean, you've got the 40k open day coming up soon. It's like £12 a ticket. It's one day.
Yeah.
You can take something that you're really proud of that may not be a display model that you've done for specifically for Golden Demon. It could be just something in your army that you're really proud of that you want to enter. It doesn't have to have a ridiculously snazzy base. It doesn't have to have a plaque with a fancy sort of name scribbled at the bottom of it. With a sort of little slogan. You can put something in on a base that you used to game with, and you could quite easily walk away with a bronze, silver, even a gold demon.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm probably ranting on a bit at the moment, but
no, that makes total sense. I think even though I've always enjoyed painting, it's only been the last sort of 3 or 4 years that I've actually decided, I want to get better, rather than I will naturally get better over time from gaming. But I still wouldn't have considered entering a demon probably till last year, where following a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of painters and gamers, and seeing them entering things that I look at and think, well, I can achieve that. And look, they got a finalist pin. Oh, that's okay. Maybe it is worth me entering, because I've got no illusions about placing. But if I look at some of the stuff, it's good stuff, but some of the stuff that people are walking away, lots of pins were given out, especially at Warhammer Fest. Lots of pins, and you're thinking, yeah, there is a point in doing it. I think that's a good way of getting more people into painting, is by making sure that you're acknowledging painters who you're not probably gonna win ever, but can actually paint to a high standard. So it made me think, yeah, it's worth doing
exactly.
this. I feel like there's still something you can achieve.
Yeah, totally agree with you.
And if I just miss out on a pin, then it'll be kind of right. Well, I know what I need to do now to get a pin next time round, sort of thing. So yeah, I've got no illusions at winning anything, and I'd be chuffed with a pin. And if I didn't get one, I'd be thinking, right, what do I need to do to get one at the next event, and just take it like that. Whereas a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have even considered it. Definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. What else have we got? So apart from the sort of hints and tips you've given us, are there any other resources that you use, or any tips for painters out there who are thinking about pushing on to the next level and maybe trying out some high level painting, whether it's for competition or just for that centerpiece in their arm?
Yeah, I mean, if for somebody that's looking to sort of take entering the Golden Demon quite seriously, if they want to make that their end goal, I think just doing a bit of research about the thing that they're entering is always useful. I mean, I did it for the javelin. I mean, I didn't prepare as much as I could have, like I said. But doing a bit of research in terms of getting a grasp of sort of basic colour theory. And by that, I mean literally sort of Googling yourself a colour wheel and just finding out, what colours complement and contrast well with other colours. So the dark green of the Sons of Horus contrasts really well with red, hence why I did the plume and the glow on the missiles against the side of that, just to sort of get that contrast on the go, really, just to give it a bit more interest.
And because you love the reds as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Lots of reds.
Yeah, exactly. And not just that. I mean, Google and do a bit of research about other sort of Golden Demon entries, and brainstorm ideas. Try and come up with something that you think the judges wouldn't have seen before. Come up with an idea that you really like and you want to go forward with it. Just take your time with it. I mean, do your research online. If you know of any, really, really good painters, either within your friendship group or your gaming group or whatever, or you follow on Instagram or Facebook or what have you, don't be afraid to drop them a message and get some advice. Say to them, look, I want to enter a Golden Demon. You don't have to tell them your ideas because they could very well be the people you're going up against. But just fire away some questions, and I'm sure most of the painters that I know will be happy to sort of respond and give you some pointers. We're it's a friendly community.
Yeah, the painting community is a very good community. I mean, like Stu said, about 12 months ago, I was a relatively good tabletop painter, and just started making. Just I don't want to push on, and I asked lots of questions to lots of painters, and I always got good responses, nice positive responses from people. I mean, I don't know about you, Sam, but I know me and Stu do a lot, but I find painters are quite happy to talk about their painting. They like it's a subject you tend to find they're quite happy to talk about. So, they'll always give you good feedback. I mean, communities online are really good. There's the Heavier Metal group, which is really good. There's always good stuff going on in there and good discussions, and reach out to the community. You don't have to sit in front of your painting desk going, I don't know what to do with this. There's lots of ways to reach out to people nowadays, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've lost count of the amount of different hobby groups there are now on Facebook for, Heresy, 40k, Age of Sigmar, whatever game system you play. I can guarantee you will probably find a group of some sort on Facebook that you can ask somebody, or even several people for advice for. And not just that, I mean, a lot of the painters, as well as being in those groups, they have their own, their blogs or painting pages or what have you that you can message, for some advice. I mean, I've got my one. I often get people just sort of messaging me, how do I go about painting this? How have you done this sort of effect? Have you painted the green on your Sons of Horus sort of thing?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't hesitate to drop a message back saying, oh, you know what, this is how I did it. And then, there's nothing more satisfying for me than me giving advice to somebody, and then sort of a week, 2 weeks later, they drop me a picture back of what they've done, and it looks awesome, and they're really happy with it.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I would suggest for people who are looking to move on as well is do look at classes. I know that me and you, Sam, were MKAs, and we'll put it out there, that there's obviously that group. But I mean, you don't have to do MKA. I know Miles from Little Legend does his online, Google Hangouts lessons. There's other classes popping up. I think Escalation are doing some as well, and some.
Yeah.
I mean, for one, it's good to just sit. I mean, the one of the best things I took from the MK course was just a weekend sat with other people painting and seeing what they did and the bits they used and the tricks they used and how they did this little bit and that little bit and their methods. And it was just really good to see that happening, just to get, it's the myriad of little tips I took away from the course that really, really, was amazing. So, I mean, look at those kind of things, join it, you're joining the community. I mean, I comparison I always make is, people who play golf are quite happy to go and have golf lessons. Why wouldn't you go and have some painting lessons? If that's your hobby and that's what you want to do. So, I mean, that's always found quite good.
There's a wealth of resources out there as well. I mean, to somebody that may not be 100% confident with their painting, to commit to a painting class, they may think, that might cost me a lot of money. What if I show myself up if I'm not as good as I need to be, for the painting class itself? There's a wealth of books and stuff online that you can buy. We were talking about the infinity style of painting earlier. That probably isn't the correct term. I should probably refer to it as Angel Giralde's style of painting.
Yeah,
that's very, very unique to him, and he's got a fantastic book that you can buy. A to Z, it's called, and that covers a wealth of different painting guides for various Infinity models. There's stuff for Games Workshop things as well. There's the Forge World Masterclass books. I love those. The nitty gritty sort of Forge World style. That's something that I seem to be moving more into these days. For a Solar Auxiliary army that I've just started. Just buy them. I mean, even if you don't buy them, from the companies themselves directly, and you pick them up on eBay for slightly less, they're worth a read through, and I can guarantee you will learn something, and that will help you with your painting in the future. Even if you don't, use the technique that you're reading about, sometime in the future you may decide, actually that might look really good on the model that I'm currently painting. I'm going to give that a go, and you'll surprise yourself. You'll learn something new.
Yeah, and that's just another example of a lot of the newer things, not just sources of information, but you touched on the newer tools that are available to a painter. Obviously, back in the day, I mean, going back to when I was like 12 or 13, and I was, trying to paint and like crayons and stuff. It was just guys at the store, or it was friends really. We didn't have the interwebs as to the extent of YouTube. There was the basic painting stuff in White Dwarf, but apart from, I don't know, for example, airbrushing, what would you say has been the kind of major developments, like the new tools that are available that people keep kind of touching on? What's really progressed painting in recent years?
I think it's the social networking side to it. Being able to be part of like a massive sort of community hobby group, and share your pictures of your work in progresses, pictures of your models and stuff, and get feedback instantly. But back then, if you were painting a rhino, for example, and you weren't 100% sure about it, you'd often have to wait till you went to a friend's house, or you went into your local Games Workshop, or wherever it was that you gamed, to get some feedback from the people there. Now you can take a picture on your phone, upload it to the group straight away, and there will be somebody there that is able to give you a bit of feedback, and you can improve on that. And yeah, not just that. I think it's the accessibility to things like digital guides as well. I mean, the Heavy Metal team and Games Workshop, they've done loads for various sort of kits and stuff that they've released. I think they're brilliant. I think they're really, really useful.
Okay, so those have, I'll reframe the question. So those have progressed have uplifted the overall standard across the community. I'd agree with that. I think that the amount of people that are painting at a higher level has definitely increased. But I was thinking more, touching on what you said earlier about that there's more people at the very higher level, and also the higher level seems to have progressed. Like if you look back at the White Dwarf in the 90s, and obviously the style has changed, but is there anything else that's really changed in tools or paints or whatever that would mean someone who had a Golden Demon back then is just nowhere near at the standards? Is it just techniques? Is it style? Is there?
It's quite a good question. I think there's a lot more. I think painters have a lot more options these days. There's a much wider range of paints made by various different companies. You've got various other tools. I mean, Golden Demon back in the 90s and probably early sort of 2000s. Very rarely would you see stuff that was airbrushed. So just thought I don't know. It's just
Combination of things.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things. In short,
increasing model detail, more paint ranges.
I think models is a huge part.
Yeah, the models play a massive part in it. I mean, the technology now that you see that is used to create the models. I mean, you compare a GW, well, you can't really call it a sculpt these days. A GW model compared to what it was, again, like I said, in the 90s, they're just miles apart.
I don't know. Everyone loves this new Russ model. Like we said last episode, I quite like the original Russ, Neiman Russ with his little wolves and his. I quite like that.
Have you noticed though that Russ has got another paint style entirely on it as well? It's got. I think I noticed this at the when the pictures first dropped of it when it was in Amsterdam. It doesn't look like any of the other Primarks that
I was going to say
done.
That. Yeah, it looks almost. People in the Alpha Legion forums and groups were saying that someone had snuck in like an Alpha Legion paint job, and it was actually Alpharius model because it looks almost that bluey green metallic. It looks almost like copper or something, like a weird blue green kind of element to the metal, but it's not non-metallic metal. It's not a metallic paint. It's a really strange.
I think that might boil down to just like the picture being maybe overly saturated or something like that. But I was referring to the actual sort of just the pictures taken by attendants at the event, sort of with it in the cabinet. And if you look at the base, it's got it looks almost like it's been painted by watercolors. I know that sounds really strange, but you've got lots of sort of like subtle blends of like blues and greens, a bit like what you said on the armor. To my knowledge, I don't know if this is correct, but the person responsible for painting that is quite new to the Forge World studio as well. I may be wrong, but he's got a very unique style of painting himself, which I've heard referred to as the Spanish style. Again,
I was just about to say, it sounds like a European style. It's more like a competition style painter, which you wouldn't see traditionally on GW stuff because so much of that comes from trained in-house from the heavy metal style, and then they progress probably more the other way. But yeah, it just looks like competition pieces. I follow a lot of painters that only paint sort of Reaper miniatures and things like that, and it just reminds me of those kind of painters more, which is brilliant to see because it's even more artistic. It's just different, isn't it? A different way of painting in the detail. Richard Gray's a really different style of painter, isn't he? He's weathering. He tends to paint it all in, and it's got it's really hard to describe. It's cartoony-esque, but sort of ultra real as well. He's not using heavily weathered powders and techniques like that. He's actually physically painting it all in, and it's different to the GW style. It's different to what you'll see in the masterclass booklets. And for me, it just seems a very kind of European style competition painter. Europe is probably unfair, and all the people from all the other parts of the world that paint that style as well. But it reminds me of that kind of stuff. Really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right then, what was I going to say? I've got a couple of questions for you. So, what have you got planned next? You probably can't tell us what your competition entries are because they'll all be hush secrets. But what have you got planned next that you can tell us about?
So I'm planning on entering the next Horus Heresy Golden Demon, which is to be announced, we assume, in February following the Horus Heresy Weekender. At the moment, I'm sort of just in the planning stages for that. I've not really got my mind set up on what I want to enter. I hope to have something ready for every category. But, working full time and, other things in the way, realistically speaking, I'd be happy just to get sort of a couple of entries ready for that. But yeah, I'm really not 100% sure what to enter. I mean, especially with said box sets, Custodians and Sisters of Silence on the horizon. Plenty of stuff.
Yeah, we'll see a few of those.
Yeah, plenty of stuff ready to drop, ready for Christmas. So that's quite up in the air at the moment. In the sort of closer, in the near future, obviously we've got the 40k Open Day in November, which is probably 2 weeks or so from now.
Yeah.
I was planning on entering something for every category for that as well, and I've yet to start. So I've left this one a bit late as well. So this is going to be a rushed job again. Much
you need to go back and listen to what you said earlier, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I need to listen to my advice. You know what, guys? Just ignore everything that I've said because I clearly don't listen to my advice. But no, I mean, I've been wanting to enter something for this for a while, and I've not actually painted anything for 40k in ages. And the Gene Stealer cult models have certainly captivated my interest. And yeah, I'd imagine you shall probably see if I manage to finish it, or them, I should say.
Well,
in the very near
I'm sure you'll
future.
finish them at some point, whether you make it in time or not. That would be, but I hope you do. But I'll be following your page and your Instagram to see one of those pop up. Final question for me, and I think Nick's got something else to ask before we let you go. But your Solar Ox, what colour are you going to go for your inventory? Because I can't think of a bloody paint scheme. It's doing my head in. There's so little resource out there to draw upon. And I'm probably overthinking it. I'll probably just need to pick something and go for it. But what are you going for?
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I was really surprised actually how little there was sort of to find online of Solar Auxiliary colour schemes. But I am going to do the Chthonian Headhunters, the traitor Solar Auxilia from the Sons of Horus Homeworld. With those, they're probably going to match the colour scheme for my tanks.
Right. Okay.
So it's going to be like a light grey colour for their basic armour, which sounds really boring, but I'm going to try and sort of make them a lot interesting by giving them a really sort of nitty gritty, those words again, Forge World style. Well,
they should be, I think.
Using the weathering basically to try and sort of give them a bit more interest.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think grey can be, you could paint it really nicely and really neatly, but it's the kind of thing that could not stand out, I suppose, if you unless you look really, really closely, rather than going for something. I don't want to go for something bright either. You can see a lot of the people doing the kind of the blue and the yellows and things, and while they look good, it doesn't seem to fit what they stand for. The Marines can wear gaudy, bright colours if they want, because it doesn't matter if they're seen, because they're just going to kick ass anyway. But as a pre-post-human, as the Horus guys would call it, they're going to die if they stand out too much. So I think I much prefer make them look a little bit more military-like. Saying that, I'll start painting and they'll be bright colours, because I'll have changed my mind by then. But
bright pink,
yeah,
absolutely.
Well, pink and purple.
The ones the Forge World guys have done actually in their cabinet, they almost look like the Ultramarine colours. They've got like the really bright blue and gold. They look really sweet. I'd be interested to see actually what a Solar Auxiliary army looks like with brighter coloured armour, to be honest.
Yeah, I think if I go something bright, it would be white. That's the only thing. I don't think I want to go for kind of a yellow or something. And I'm thinking about doing black again, even though I've just done a Raven Guard commission and it's nearly killed me. But I'm thinking about doing something black on there, because I kind of but by doing so many miniatures, I've learned some techniques I've not used before, and I know where I can push that on. We talked about earlier about pushing your skills on now, and I know things I can do to push that onto a next level, and it's just tempting me a little bit, but we'll see.
Once you go black, Stu, once you go black.
Not going back to the last episode again. Moving on. What about gold? What about those lovely metallics you've fallen in love with? You could do like a goldy brass kind of.
Well, I was thinking of using metallics, using brass on there with black and white, maybe on the actual uniform itself. We'll see how that might stand out. The gold might be a little bit too bling. I'll save that for my Dawn model.
So
what was it you had a question?
Yeah.
So final question.
Unless Tom's got anything else he wants to add, I'm.
No, you go for it, Nick.
Cool. So I just wanted to end on a bit of a laugh, really. So I was going to ask you if you had one kind of guilty secret or habit. I'm not talking about things like using paintbrushes to pick your nose or whatever. I mean like dry brushing tank tracks, which apparently is a real faux pas, apparently.
Blimey. Let me think.
Any lazy shortcuts or anything horrid that you shouldn't really be doing that you do?
I'm pretty bad for shortcuts on my own army. I mean, I get like sort of halfway through the model, and I just want it finished. So so things like not painting the underneath of my rhinos, that tends to be a common one.
Excellent.
Yeah, I got shouted at
my
by
excuse
Mr.
is
Kane about that.
my excuse is, I mean, if you're going to paint the top nice enough, if it gets destroyed when you're playing games, you can make the excuse that you don't have to turn it over.
Yeah, I don't.
So I just stick with
built, blast markers for mine so that I don't flip my vehicles over anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, if I'm not going to turn my rhinos over, nobody's going to see the bottom. So why the hell do I need to paint them?
Yeah, I'm not paying that.
So, yeah, that's probably one of the ones that I do.
Bring back
what
base
else?
in. Bring back base in for vehicles. Bring back base in for vehicles.
Oh God, no! But
Square bases for your vehicles. Chip will be happy.
there's nothing wrong with it, can't be. I used to hate painting, not so much on 40 or 30k stuff, but on War Machine stuff. I used to hate painting black leather boots and stuff. So I used to use sort of a dark graphite colour, do a sort of a black wash over it, and then use loads of weathering powders over the boots and stuff. By the time you've done that anyway, you can't see it. If you painstakingly edge highlighted the black shine on it, it would have gone anyway. So that would be mine. What about you, Tom? Have you got any guilty secrets?
I cover a multitude of sins with weathering. Look, I screwed that up. All right, battle that.
That's a good one.
Just cover it. Fine, sorted. Yeah, I mean.
What, you mean like smother it in weathering powders or what, like chips and dents? And...
Yeah, I've screwed up that corner. Let's weather over the top of that. It's fine. It'll be all right. Yeah.
That's a good one.
I managed on my chaplain. My chaplain I built a little while ago. He managed to get a weird blob of super glue that ran out from his arm joint onto his chest. I didn't notice until I think I'd varnished it, put a first varnish on it, and he'd got this like white blob, and I was like, oh great! I just picked at it with a craft knife and just flicked it, and it ripped off, and it must have taken half of the chest colour off it, and I was like, oh great, that's fucked then. I thought, I must have put a gloss in it. I'd already airbrushed all the armour. I thought, I just painted lead belcher and then put some streaks on it. It was like, it's fine, it's battle damage, he's a chaplain, it's supposed to be like that. It's fine. So that's my guilty secret.
Took a bow to the chest and survived.
Yeah, he was fine. He took one on the chest and he ran away with it, so he's fine. Yeah, cool. Well, thank you very much for your time, Sam. I think that's just done. Unless you guys got anything else?
No, just to thank you for coming on and waiting for the technology problems we had to start with, and thanks for coming on. And I know you're starting a new job this week, so you've got some pretty crazy hours and stuff going on. So appreciate you coming on, spend the time to talk paint with us.
No problems, guys. The advice is useful, as much as I was rambling. But
definitely useful, and hopefully it's useful for listeners as well. I'm sure it will be.
Yeah.
That's good.
For anybody entering a Golden Demon anytime soon, literally good luck. Honestly, don't be afraid to. Regardless of your painting level, just go for it, and you will learn bucket loads. I guarantee it.
Yeah, cool. Do you want to give your Facebook pages and your painting studio a bit of a shout out? Then give us some details for that.
Yeah, definitely. So the Facebook group that I'm an admin for is called Smells Like Heresy, the UK Southwest gaming group. We started as a really, really small bunch of guys, but we've now sort of blossomed into about sort of almost 70 or 80 odd members. So if you're looking for a close 30k gaming community, that does sort of regular meetups sort of every week, feel free to join the group. And even if you can't sort of game that frequently and you just want to get some feedback or advice on stuff you're painting or building or whatever, join anyway. And yeah, if you guys want, or anybody that's listening wants some sort of any painting advice off myself, or share any ideas with anything that they're currently working on, feel free to drop me a message via my blog at SJP Painting on Facebook.
Awesome, that's cool, Sam. And like I said, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it, and hopefully me and Stu will see you at Golden Demon then.
Yes, hopefully, fingers crossed. Well, hopefully I'll have an entry as well. If I don't, you know why.
Well, I reckon if I order my model on the 1st of February, I'll probably be all right then, going off your time scales. We'll be fine.
Yeah, I'll see you soon, guys.
Cool. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that with Sam. Hopefully it was quite handy. I know I've got a few ideas now. I've got a few things circulating in my head. We're going to disappear off and take another break because, quite frankly, I need a wee. So enjoy the break, guys, and we'll catch up with you in a bit.
Lord Marshal Great, sir. Legion reinforcements now visible on the left flank.
About time. The wolves, I see.
No, sir. Ultramarines, sir.
But they're wearing grey, Proclamator Fennec.
Fox message said new recruit, sir. No time to paint armour. All Legion reinforcements to the right, sir.
Thank you, Fennec. Good to see the scars correctly presented.
Sorry, sir. It's more Ultramarines. New issue armour. Prime white. No time to paint, sir.
Shocking! At least the Raven Guard are in black armour.
Sorry, sir. That's more Ultramarines.
For Emperor's sake, fox them and find out why!
Yes, sir. Apparently, also new armour, sir. But the sergeant says it's okay. Their eye lenses are red, and the bolt guns are silver. He said 3 colours minimum, sir.
What the? Get on the Vox now and tell them to contact Miniature Realm Studio.
Miniature Realm Studio, sir.
Yes, Fennec. Miniature Realm Studio offers a commission painting service, competitive rates, and a range of painting standards to suit most budgets and requirements.
Yes, sir. Very good, sir. I suppose they do say that fully painted is for closers.
What does that even mean, Fennec?
I don't know, sir. No one really does, sir.
Miniature Realms Studio can be found on Facebook, on Twitter at Miniature Realms, on Instagram at Miniature Realms Studio, or just drop Stuart an email at miniaturerealmstudio@gmail.com. Welcome back after that short break from one of our sponsors, possibly a horrible cheesy advert from me, so sorry about that. It's just me here. Tom and Nick are not here for the close down. We ran a little bit late the other night, so you have to put up with my monotone voice for the next few minutes. Also might be that Tom clearly can't handle a close down because he gets so drunk that he slurs his way through it all. One of the reasons is probably more correct than the other. So I'll just go through the events section. Most of these are probably sold out, but I'm going to give them all a read out anyway, just in case any of them have become available, so you can hit these guys up on Facebook and have a look, or maybe just hit them up on Facebook so you can see when they next do events. So the first one we have is Defence of Orpingham Tertius. That's at 40k Gaming in Colchester on November the 20th. I think there's a couple of tickets left, but I'm not sure. And then 40k Brawl have got a couple of events coming up. So the Kings of Winter event is on the 3rd of December. I believe that's the one in the Scout Hut that Tom managed to slur his way through last time. So check that out. I think they're sold out, but it's well worth a look. And these guys keep running events, so it's well worth liking their page on Facebook so you can keep up with what they're doing. They've also got the Traitors Rage 30k event on the 28th of January. I have no idea whether there's tickets left for that as well, but it's worth checking out. There's the Company of Legends Horus Heresy Weekender up in Durham, I believe. Now that's in March. I think it's all sold out, but looks to be a really exciting event. So again, another one to flag just for future reference. There's the Escalation Rises Horus Heresy campaign weekend. I know Tom and Nick are on the way down to that one. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough wife points, so I'm missing out on that one. Really gutted because that looks like it's going to be a massive event. Again, one I think that's been sold out. Now, if you've got events that you want us to call out, please get in touch. So Facebook, via email, Twitter, Instagram. Let us know and we will happily keep plugging your events and keep spreading the heresy. So please do get in touch with us on our social media. So join our Facebook group. The chat on there is getting a little bit more regular, so there's lots of good conversations going on there. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram. Tom and I are nearly always posting pictures up of our painting projects on there. That's growing daily, so it's well worth getting involved in the community and having a chat with us on there. But please get in touch with us and ask us questions and engage with the show. Check out the 30k channel. I know we've been plugging in the last few episodes. The teasers have gone up in the last week before we were recording about the next video they're doing. So it looks like 1,000 Suns and Vilca Fenrica. Looks like it'll be really interesting and obviously very themey at the moment with the Prospero box just dropping. Also, please check out our wonderful sponsor, Income Gaming. If you're not in the area, please check out his web stores. Lots of great products, lots of great prices on there. And then if you are local enough to Cheltenham, pop into one of our gaming nights on a Tuesday. He has a pop-up shop there, so you'll be able to buy your stuff there and also grab a game and maybe even bump into one of us. Same thing on a Saturday. He's open for gaming all day. Pop-up shop goes up. The best thing about it is a pub, so you can grab a beer as well. So other than that, check out my own painting studio, Miniature Realm Studio. I have a couple of slots open in December. Don't do too much work then, and then loads of slots open again from the new year. November's all fully booked up now, but if you need some work done, it doesn't have to be heresy related. I do prefer if it is, but get in touch and I'm happy to paint some toys for you. But other than that, just want to say thanks for listening again, and we'll catch you soon. Take care. Bye bye.